Good morning, my Teaserking family. I hope everybody's well. What a great weekend we had. The locks go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0. Everything wins. First lock we had talked about was USC Utah over. Second lock was the Kansas State TCU over. The three pro locks, Green Bay Chicago over. The Seattle game takes Seattle, and the San Diego Oakland over. 5 for 5. Made some big money. Hit a couple of 10-teamers with Seattle and the Oakland. And hit my normal bets, my big bets, my lock bets all came in. So it was a wonderful weekend. I go 9-2 in the pros, and I go 7-2 in college. Is 16-4. Pretty freaking good, eh? But that's what I strive for, and even the four losers, I get pissed off. But you don't always get the expected outcome you're expecting. So let's go through college. And I think I went through this yesterday, so I'll go quickly through it. Although this is technically the college show. Buffalo 23, Akron 22. A little surprise there. Akron, different quarterback, puts up 22. Buffalo's held to 23, which is a bit surprising. Toledo 17, Ohio 7. The spread was 9.5. Ohio's quarterback was out, but their backup was pretty good. Very surprised by this score. Georgia 50, LSU 30. I'm not sure where this came from. Both teams have pretty good defenses. I haven't watched the highlights of this yet, but Georgia lights them up for 50, but LSU gets 30. So I'm curious what happened in this game. But if you're going to miss an under, I just assume miss it by 80 points. I had under 57, so not a score you expect in a Georgia game, but Georgia came to play, right? They didn't lay down to let LSU in. Like, they wanted to win the SEC championship, and it shows. Now, I'm not sure the 30 points by LSU. It's like, so 50-0, we would have won. So anyway, that was the surprise. LSU puts up 30, but Georgia's definitely pissed off, which is good because we're going to keep betting them. Fresno State pulls the upset, which I didn't think was the upset. I had them favored by 7. They win 28-16. They were getting 3.5. We teased them up to 9.5. Easy winner. That was your free play. So I'll see how I make you money there with the free play. Fresno State, Jay Kaner, not the same team with and without Jay Kaner, which is the whole point of what we're trying to do here. Different injuries give you different expected outcomes. With Hainer, that's what you expect. Clemson, North Carolina. Clemson 39-10 of 49. We have the game over. It doesn't get over. A lot of people I know had North Carolina as the dog. I didn't like North Carolina as the dog. Clemson came to play. I don't know what this has been, but if you notice, he takes out Uglia after 2, 3 and outs. The other guy comes in and lights him up. I don't know why he took him out at the end of the game. I thought that was rude and disrespectful. North Carolina got down there 3 times and didn't do shit. So, I don't know. You think May's good, and then you see this and you go, well, he's obviously not very good. He's good against the weak teams, and this is what you run into. These quarterbacks are good against weak teams. You put them up against good teams, and they're not good. So that was the other loser. The Georgia under and the North Carolina under were my 2 losers. North Texas, UTSA, love the game over, 69.5. It gets a 75, and in teaser world, we're 63. Utah USC, that was the free one. It was also a lock. Over under of 60, and it goes to 71. Kansas State, TCU. That was our second lock. We go over 55. Well, it was like 62. I think it was 55, 56. And it goes to a 59, but it was tied at 56 at the end on TCU's brilliant touchdown and 2-point conversion. And once it was tied, then it had to be a winner because they had to have a winner. The game's not going to end tied in a championship game. So therefore, we got the winner as soon as they scored. TCU, I felt that I thought the quarterback scored on his first one at the goal line. Then the next play up the middle, I thought the running back scored. Fourth down, I'm not quite sure. I liked that they ran off tackle. I thought that was okay. I thought their third down play was kind of weak running up the middle. But his guard ran into him, unfortunately, which is extremely, the guard not being aware of what the play is. In other words, the guard is going to go block somebody, gets in the front of the way of the running back. Like, dude, you got another running back's coming. Get out of the way. You can't run that play with the guard pulling like that. That's ridiculous. Or the running back ran too quickly into the hole. Not sure what it was, but it was a terrible play from the standpoint of what the tackle was, or the guard pulling into the running back hit the guard actually, or he scores. But yeah, TCU, played well. Unfortunately, didn't get that in overtime, but who knows? K-State would have ran different plays because they would have needed a touchdown, and so you can't really say they didn't win because of that. But more importantly, we got the over. Coastal Carolina, Troy. Now, McCall plays but wasn't listed. He was listed as out. Again, terrible communication of the injuries. Although we did see the line drop a little bit, but not really what it should have dropped with McCall. If I knew McCall was playing, why did the line only go from 7.5 to 6.5? Should have went down to like even with McCall. Troy kills them. I'm going to go under, but then I look at it and I go, well, there's no way Troy's not going to win the game by 1. With McCall out, I know they're going to win. So I get off the under and I go to Troy, and Troy wins 45-26. So Troy's playing really well going into this playoff bowl games. Tulane, UCF, I go over, easy over. It's 73. I'm over 50. What I didn't like was Plumlee, the starting quarterback, and Keene, the backup, both sit out. And then when the game gets close near the end, all of a sudden Plumlee's running back in like, I guess I'm not hurt. I guess I can play. I wouldn't have put the fucker in. If you're going to let the team down and you can't play, all of a sudden now you can? Really? That was terrible. But for our standpoint, we got the over. And then Michigan, Purdue, we had Michigan -10. They did play, and they win 43-22 against Purdue. So another winner. So the question you ask is, what was this week about? Titus, good morning to you all. Thanks for yesterday. I hit 18 teaser. Okay. Seattle -1, Broncos under 40, 49ers under, Lions over. So you took my picks and you won with them. Very good, Iris. So where's my 20%? I get 20% of the wins. And you see how good my picks are as you made money with it. So I hope you made a lot of money. I also hit 10-team teaser with one of the family. This is what I do. You don't realize you're with the professor how good I am. but I'm very happy you won. That's the whole point of this, right? I'm here to make you money. I'm here to educate you, basically. So very happy. Um, we'll get into next week in a little bit. So my question is, what was the point of this week? When you look at it, so Georgia beats LSU. Who cares? Fresno State beats Boise. No reward. Clemson wins. No reward. Utah, USC. Utah wins. Why aren't they in the playoff? K-State beats TCU, yet TCU's in the playoff. Why isn't K-State? Troy wins, okay. Tulane, why aren't they in the playoff? And Michigan beating Purdue. If Purdue had won, they wouldn't have been in the playoff. So I'd like to know what the point of Saturday was. Michigan had already won the Big Ten. Even if they lost, they won the Big Ten because Purdue had 2 or 3 losses. Michigan didn't have any, so that would give them 1. TCU had already beat Kansas State. So even with Kansas State winning, TCU's the champ of the Big 12. Utah, USC, I think the champ is really UCLA. Oregon's getting screwed. UCLA's getting screwed. Utah's getting screwed. What is the point of that? Hey, Todd. Hit 3 8-teamers. Thank you for the tutoring. Yeah, I got it, Todd. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, see, I wish we would hit every week. And here's our thing. I was just going over it. So I go 7-2 in college, and I go 9-2 in the pro. So every week I hit the 8 games. That's not the problem. It's trying to throw out the loser. The Georgia under lost, or the Tennessee. But that was Tennessee was a very small play going against Philly. I never would put that in your 8-teamers. But that's where we get it is we always have the 8, and I'm always looking to get off the game like Titus just did. He avoided the Miami and he avoided Tennessee, which really weren't strong, but just games I made. The ones he played are the ones I played, and 3 of them were locks. The Pack over Seattle and the Chargers over. Those were locked games. This is why you buy my package, is because I'm giving you the games, but you don't know which ones are the locks or the strong plays or how to play them. Now, for Todd and Ty, well, for everybody, I had USC in a teaser with TCU over and in a teaser in a lock with – so I had a lock, USC, TCU over, 27 units wins. Then I have them locked with Oakland over 27 units, and that wins. So I have USC in 2 locks, and they win. And then the other lock was the Bears over with Seattle. And then I had a Seattle with Oakland winner. So the key is when you find the game and you find the lock, you play it twice. You don't play it once. Now I know, Todd, you play your 8-teamers. I know you're playing certain games more than once. But that's really what you're trying to do is find the games. Now the reason that's the reason you buy it is to figure out the lock, because what you guys did with the 8-teamers makes sense. But if you're betting, and I'm with one guy who we just bet 2 teams. We bet a 2-teamer, the lock, we bet for like 500. The other game, he'll bet for 300 or 200, and he'll differentiate with Seattle and 2 teasers yesterday. And that's what he does based on my telling him is this is the lock. Now his lock amount, he usually goes 300. And then he goes like 150 on the other games. That's how he uses my teasers. Again, I get the 20% there, and we cash quite a bit almost every week. I think we've only had like 1, maybe 2 weeks that we didn't cash. And that's really what you need to know is how to play the games, because they're not all even. And that's when I do expected outcomes, the expected outcome on the Seattle game was a lot higher than it was which game on let's say Detroit. We like Detroit. We figured it's an over, but the expected outcome is the Oakland game's going to go over with San Diego far easier than Detroit. Detroit happened to put up 40 points and blow them out. But like Dallas, I like Dallas over. That was the only play I had for it. But the expected outcome was not, I didn't know they'd go get 30 points in the fourth quarter. But I did know Oakland, San Diego would naturally be a score. That's why that's a little bit to the next level of how you play it. Now we've got the expected outcomes. We're calling it a lot because we've got like 95% certainty this will happen. And then we go from there, and then it's how you bet it. And I'm very happy for both of you that you listen and you won and made some money. That's what this is all about. It's beating the bookies, working in concert, using my skill set to help you, and then you're able to make money, which is good. So back to the college. So what was the point? TCU loses, still makes the playoff. If Michigan had lost, they'd still be in the playoff. This needs to be a playoff weekend. In other words, I'm not even sure it's all in the conference. I don't know that Kansas State plays TCU. I think TCU plays maybe Ohio State as a playoff game, and the winner then advances. So this is your 12 teams here. If you're going to do 12, so you got slots. I don't know that you need conference championships. Michigan had won, and Tulane probably had won the conference, and USC, I think, had won the conference, even though they didn't really deserve it. They didn't play Oregon or Washington, and that's the problem with this East and West bullshit, or North and South. But that's my problem. Clemson, North Carolina. What was the point of that game? Clemson, did they win? I mean, they're not a playoff team. So again, that you can call it that, but really the K-State, TCU, the Michigan, the Georgia, those should be playoff games. So you should have 6 playoff games. Now you're down to 6 teams. So maybe you have what do you got? 8. Well, you could have 10. You could have 10 teams and have buys, or the 12 with the buys. But this needs to be a playoff week. Then you get a lot more look. Who cared that Michigan beat Purdue? What was Purdue even doing in there? They were Illinois and Iowa were better teams, so it made no sense. What do we have here? Profit margin. I thought all teams that to win their conference champ to qualify for the playoffs. Well, that's the way it should be, profit, but that's not how it works. That's not the idea of this, is to get a conference champion, but it's not even right, because even with Kansas State winning, they're not the conference champ. TCU ran the table and already beat them. So all Kansas State did was beat them once, and TCU beat them once. TCU's still the conference champion. When you look at the record, they only have 1 loss. K-State's got 2, I think. So no, that it's to get the conference champion, but it doesn't mean you're in the playoff. The playoff is apples and oranges. It's absolutely retarded, and there's not enough teams in it. Utah is getting screwed, as is UCLA and probably Oregon, and even USC probably should be in the playoff. They're a good team. Kansas State's definitely getting screwed. They beat TCU? Why aren't they in the playoff? Believe me, I'm in Detroit and I'm hearing, oh, well, we get TCU, like, oh, no problem. I'm like, oh, really? You think Michigan's going to beat TCU? You're out of your fucking mind. TCU's only ranked number 10 overall in their power ratings at Sarja. Well, I don't care about that. Look who they beat. Baylor, Kansas State, Texas, Oklahoma State. I mean, that's 4 very strong teams they beat. You can't look at this Sagagrin, or I don't even know what it is, never heard of it. What do you mean they're rated number 10? See, the problem comes into ratings is based on wins and losses, which it shouldn't be. It should be based on your schedule. That shows you how strong. So when UCLA is beating Utah and beating Washington, and that's strong win, but they're playing strong teams. Washington State's good. Oregon State's good. These are all very good teams. The whole Big 12 is strong. Kansas is strong. K-State, Oak State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's probably the weakest team. West Virginia, who knows what you're going to get. Texas Tech, they could beat you. They're good at home. And then you got Baylor and Kansas State and Texas that are very good. So you beat three very good teams. But the fact that they have losses makes them not as valuable is ridiculous. When you've got 10 good teams playing each other, do you not think you're going to have losses? And then it goes down and they go, well, you only lost once. I'm going to tell you, I don't think Michigan should be in the playoff because who did they beat? Name one team they beat that's any good. And you're going to tell me Ohio State, and I'm going to say, are they any good? Who did they beat? Nobody. Michigan State, Penn State, Iowa, Michigan, and Ohio State. Ohio State beat Notre Dame week 1. Okay, that's their win. That's it. I don't think either of those teams are any good. I think TCU, I think Kansas State would beat Michigan easily. I think Utah would beat Michigan easily. I don't even think it would be close because Michigan's quarterback just sucks. Hey, Greg and John, how are you? Do you see my work? I got all these guys hitting 8-team, 10-team teasers. There you go. Get in on the fun. Even G would have won yesterday with the free picks. So this is my point. If you see K-State play and you see Utah play, Michigan ain't beating those teams. And the problem with Michigan and Ohio State, they haven't played anybody, so you don't know how good they are. They played each other. Ohio State looked like a high school team with these wide receivers wide open for Michigan. What was that? That was an embarrassment for Ohio State. And Michigan, I mean, I don't know what you call it. Michigan was 2-0 against other top 10 teams. Name a top 10 team they beat. You going to tell me Penn State's the top 10 team? Penn State wouldn't be on the same field with Utah, Kansas State, UCLA, Oregon, Baylor, or Texas. This is the problem. You're giving me top 10 teams that aren't really top 10 teams. So when I go through the top 10, you got Georgia, number 1. We all agree with that defense. Then you have whom? We thought Tennessee was a top 10 team until they started playing good teams. They beat Alabama, which we see is not a good team. See, it's tricky. Alabama plays absolutely no good teams. Their best team they played was Tennessee and Texas. The rest of the SEC sucked except for Georgia. So Alabama is winning games against nobody, and then they look how good they are. As soon as they play a decent team in Tennessee, they get killed. It's always going to be a huge problem in college football, too small a sample size. Well, the problem with college football is they look at the record, not who you play. So when Utah is playing UCLA and Oregon, look who Utah lost to. UCLA and at Oregon, and they still beat Washington and USC twice and Arizona State. Their mistake was losing at Florida, but who cares? Look at Kansas City lost yesterday to Cincinnati in the pros. Does that mean Kansas City sucks because they lost? They look at their record. They lost to Buffalo. They lost to Cincinnati. Oh, they wouldn't be in the top 10. Yet we all know they're a top 10 team. They're a top 5 team. But when good teams play each other, of course there's got to be a loser. But you don't look at the record in the pros. That's what's the problem with college. College should be you win your division, you're in, which means everybody wins, which means Fresno's in the playoff, which means TCU. You don't have these stupid games at the end to prove who won. Michigan had won, and TCU went undefeated, and Georgia went undefeated, and what USC had won, I guess. But you got to have a fair schedule. You can't have UCLA going at Oregon and UCLA playing at Oregon and USC not playing Oregon, and you're going to rank USC higher. No, they got to play at Oregon also, or at least play Oregon. Good luck there. You're not going to beat them. So that's the problem. Oregon State beats Oregon. So you've got a lot of strong teams. Is Utah getting credit for beating Oregon State after Oregon State beat Oregon? No, because Oregon State has, 2 losses to, they probably lost to Washington and then probably to UCLA or something. Well, the problem is the record. You can't go by record. You've got to go by schedule. And if you go by schedule and you just eye it and you go, well, look at the Pac-10, 5 very strong teams. Look at the Big 12, Oak State, Baylor, TCU, Kansas State, Texas. If we just go with those, that's 5 fucking strong teams. That whoever wins that is gold. I mean, and TCU goes undefeated. Then they got to play Kansas State twice because of what? I mean, what was the point of that game? Profit. Are you in favor of expanding the playoffs to 8, 12, or 16 teams? Well, I think it probably should be 16 teams because I just named you 5 in the Pac-12 and 5 in the Big 12 that should be in the playoff is 10. Georgia's 11, maybe Michigan or Ohio State is 12. Fresno State should be in 13. Your Tulane, who beat Cincinnati, should be in at 14. And don't tell me that Tulane can't win it and don't base it on that. Could the Giants have beat the New England Patriots that were undefeated with 5, 6 losses? Oh, they can't beat them. Well, they did beat them. So you can't go with they can't beat it. It's all matchup. Believe me, Michigan versus TCU or Kansas State or Utah is not winning that game. They don't have a chance. So I don't want to hear, well, we can't put Kansas State in because they can't win the playoff. Are you fucking kidding me? They just beat TCU. They beat Oak State. They beat Oklahoma, Texas. Are you insane? They can beat anybody. Well, you don't think that the roster of TCU or Baylor or Kansas State's as good as anybody else's? I mean, they're all outstanding teams. That's the problem. So those teams need to be in the playoff just the same. And you can't say, well, Alabama should be in. Why should Alabama? Alabama's not even a good team this year. Their best one was Texas, which was absolutely lucky that they won it on a freak at the end where the quarterback runs for 30 yards, and they want to give him the Heisman Trophy because he's the Alabama quarterback. Listening to the radio, I ran to the bank because I was worried about the bank today. When I come home, and the guys go, well, maybe the Lions will draft maybe C.J. Stroud from Ohio State will still be on the board. I'm like, dude, he sucks. So does the Alabama quarterback. You want to get a good quarterback, you get the kid from Utah. You get the kid from TCU, Kansas State, UCLA. How about him? I don't know if USC comes out. Coastal Carolina's quarterback, Haener from Fresno State. And you don't think there's any good quarterbacks out there? Hooker, we got to get him healed from Tennessee. Are you kidding me? So that's how stupid it is. It's, well, we can only draft a quarterback from Ohio State or Alabama because they do really good. I mean, Fields can't hit the broadside of a barn, but he's good because he can run. Well, that's not what I want. Look at Lamar Jackson. Oh, he got hurt again. I'm shocked. A running quarterback getting hurt. Now, I don't know how serious he is. I guess he's just out for a few weeks, again, hurting his knee. But this is not what I need the quarterback on the field, not running. I don't need the quarterback running, and I don't need him getting hurt. And you lost Garoppolo, probably running. This is the problem with the running quarterback. It's the NFL. These guys are fast, and they're going to take your legs out. That's the point of it. They don't want you to play. They get bonus for taking the quarterback out. So profit, yes, I think 16 teams makes perfect sense. You definitely have 16 teams because you got to let in Tulane, you got to let in Fresno State. You got a bunch, even if you took the top 3 Big 12 and the top 3 Pac-10, Michigan and Ohio State, who don't deserve it. You've got to play a good schedule. You cannot play a Michigan and Ohio State schedule. We give Ohio State credit for Notre Dame. Now, you can't penalize them for the Big Ten being weak, but if you're going to have this conference champion, it should have been against Illinois, not Purdue. How does Purdue get in there? Purdue didn't deserve to be in there. Illinois did. They were a very good team. So that's really the point. See, Illinois gets screwed because they had to play Michigan. If they would have played Maryland, they would have easily won, or Rutgers, or Michigan State. They did lose to Michigan State, so that killed Illinois. But it's who you play, and that's really the hard part. But yeah, I would say 16 teams, and this should have been week 1 of the playoffs. Should have been Saturday. You have 8 playoff games, and now you got 8 teams left. You play the 4 games Christmas, and that gets you down to 4, and you play that New Year's Day. You got Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, or whatever, and then you got your finals the week after. And this way you give them rest because, look, all these guys played Saturday anyway, so you can't use that as an excuse, right? They all played. So that's week 1 of your playoff. And then your final 4 are going to play New Year's and the one anyway. So all you're adding is this 1 week of Christmas. But it's fair. The winner is the winner. And it's not, well, let's get Alabama in it, even if they have 5 losses and then whoever else. Alabama had no business. Well, last year, at least they won their conference championship. Alabama didn't even win their conference. Why would they be rewarded by getting in there? This Nick Saban's a joke. We all know that. Profit margin, are you like a stock guy with your name? Stocks, because we talk a lot about gold here. I know stocks, but I'm out of them because of the depression that we're in and the high interest rates, and you don't want to be in stocks right now. So yeah, I'd go 16 teams. You got 131 teams. Are you telling me there's only 4 that could win it? Are you serious? Yes, Georgia's very good now, but they weren't even in it a couple years ago when LSU won. LSU is the dynamite team, and before that, Clemson, who sucks now, and Alabama's on their way out because they can't handle running quarterbacks, and that's what happens. Is Michigan deserving? We don't know. We give them credit for winning the Big Ten. As bad as it was, we give them credit for it. Penn State is not a number 10 team. They got killed by Michigan and Ohio State, 2 average teams, and you're going to call them a top 10 team? I don't think so. The Big Ten was terrible, so they're beating on weak teams. Again, you have to have a schedule that says, Michigan, you played Maryland. That's worth 1 point. Oh, wait, USC, Utah, you beat USC. You get 10 points for that. And then you get more points for playing a better team. Oh, you lost. Utah lost at UCLA, so I don't know how you subtract it, but it shouldn't hurt you as much as, I don't know, some team, losing to different teams like Michigan. Well, Michigan beating Maryland should be, not worth as much as TCU beating Kansas State and beating Oak State and beating Baylor and beating Texas. TCU should get many more points. And at the end of the day, it forces Michigan to play a good schedule and Ohio State to find good teams to play. You go find Michigan, you go play UCLA, USC, Oregon, go play 2 of those teams, or go to Baylor and go play Texas. You play 2 of those to get your points. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of 1-point wins, and Kansas State and Texas Christian's going to get a bunch of 10-point wins. So at the end of the day, Texas Christian's got 100 points. Michigan's got 10 because Michigan hasn't beaten anybody. And because they beat Ohio State doesn't give them 10 points because Ohio State hasn't played anybody. So that's maybe a 3-point win. That's how you need to do it if you're going to fuck around and not schedule and your conference is weak. Well, boy, you better find good teams to play out of conference because you're not going to get the points needed to get in. And then that's how I'd kind of work it to reward UCLA and reward Utah. Utah should be in this. Utah and Kansas State could easily win this title, right? You saw Utah crush USC, and you saw K-State beat TCU. Did you see Kansas State? Fuck, that team could beat anybody. What are you kidding me? And they're not in the playoff, and you calling it a playoff? Forget about it. Thank you for you're welcome, Prophet. What teams made the playoffs? Well, if you're talking what actually made it, it's Georgia against Ohio State, Michigan against TCU. And so the final will be Georgia and TCU, I believe. Profit margin, take a guess. Are you talking to Greg or John or me? Yeah, you're welcome, Prophet, about Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't anything. Not that this is anything. I mean, this is garbage too. That's all it is paper. That's why I steer you to gold and silver, because all you're doing. So I bought an ounce of gold, as I showed you yesterday, this weekend. All I do is trade money. I traded 1,800 paper dollars for an ounce of gold that's worth real money, that's about to go through the roof. That's going to be worth 30, 40, 50,000 versus this will never be worth 30, 40. This can only go down in value because all they do is print it. Because JP Morgan has the monopoly and wants it to go down. That's what you have. Gold can only go up because you can't print gold. You can't copy it. It is what it is. Oh, Greg. Okay. Yeah. Well, Greg just didn't hear who made it. So, yeah, those are the 4. And here everybody's like, oh, well, Michigan will beat TCU. Like, no. If you've seen TCU, they got an explosive offense. They got a really strong defense. And they beat Texas and Kansas State. Kansas State's better than Michigan, and they just beat them. Hey, Bobby. Just got in on time for some more econ talk. Yeah, well, we're talking college. Yeah, I know. No, Kansas State. We're wondering why they played this weekend in college football. What was the point? Kansas State doesn't make the playoff. Utah doesn't make the playoff. So what the fuck was the point of it? Why are you calling it a conference championship game and you have a playoff where you don't include the conference champions, but yet TCU gets in anyway? So what is the point of TCU playing Kansas State if TCU's already in the playoff? What is the point of that game? It better if it was a playoff game. Let them play Michigan on Saturday instead of Michigan playing Purdue when they're in. What surprised me was Bama not getting in. Yeah, well, because Bama's, runs the committee. The thing was they had two losses. And again, you're counting losses. You're counting the record as opposed to who they played. UCLA is much better than Alabama. It would kill Alabama. So would Oregon. So would Oak State when they were healthy, and Baylor, and Kansas State would kill Alabama. It wouldn't even be close. UGA running through this playoff. UGA is so much better. I would like to see UGA in the pros. I seriously don't know who could beat them. Maybe should be an 18 playoff. I think it's 16 teams. Absolutely. I think I just named you 8 in the Pac-10 and the Big 12. I got 8, and I got Georgia and maybe Michigan, and then Fresno should be in, and Tulane should be in. Why are you ignoring Fresno and Tulane? Fresno wins their conference. They got a quarterback. Tulane looked great. What the fuck? Why aren't these teams in there? Well, because they play in weaker conferences, supposedly. They're just as good as anybody out there. I think Bama was the only shot at beating Georgia. No, come on, Bobby. Just because they would make adjustments and really use to a team twice. Well, they didn't play them once. Bama didn't play Georgia. That's the problem. Bama never plays Georgia. But Bama defense so shitty this year, they would most likely lose again. But they didn't play them. And how are they going to stop? Yeah, first of all, they couldn't stop Georgia, as we see their defense sucks. Well, how are they going to score on Georgia? They couldn't, shit, they could barely score on Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Alabama did not have a good offense. And Georgia knows how to beat it now. So they're not in the same class, Alabama, Georgia. Not by a long shot. No, because Alabama always, if you notice, they never cross over Georgia and very rarely Florida. They play Tennessee and then they'll play like, Missouri or some weak shit team, South Carolina. I mean, whatever. They don't play Florida and Georgia and Kentucky. And Tennessee used to be a joke. Finally is good this year, and Tennessee beats them. But the rest of the whole Eastern sucked. LSU sucks, and LSU beat them, and Tennessee beats them. So Alabama, who did they beat? Mississippi and Mississippi State? Are they any good? They're nowhere near Kansas State and Baylor and Oak State. And let's move to USC, UCLA, Utah, Oregon, and Washington. Fuck, they're nowhere near Oregon. Look at Oregon State beat Oregon. 16 would make it better and see who the real world champ is. If they really wanted a playoff, and again, it's got to go on points. You cannot go by rankings. Rankings are based on record, which is not based on who you play with the strength of your schedule. They need to get that into it where you would have had UCLA, Utah, USC, and Oregon, and probably Washington because they beat Oregon in the playoff. You would have had 4 or 5 Pac-10 teams and Big 12 teams in it. That's why you need 16, because you have teams that are like, when you play that schedule that UCLA played, right? They had to play Washington and Oregon and Utah and USC and Arizona State. And they barely beat South Alabama, who was a good team. But, I mean, you've got to play 4 good teams. What the fuck? I mean, and so, of course, you're going to lose. But does that make you a bad team because you lost to Oregon and they beat Utah and then they lost to USC? But UCLA can beat anybody. UCLA could beat Georgia. With that team and that offense, they could beat Georgia. Georgia's in a league of their own this year. Well, their defense is a little suspect, giving up 30 to LSU, but they have Ross Bowers, the best tight end in football. He should be your top choice, but I'm not sure Bennett shouldn't be drafted high. I mean, all the guy does is fucking win. I mean, they're downplaying Bennett like he sucks. I mean, I'd rather have him than the Alabama quarterback all day. With Georgia, the only question is if they'll cover or not, because they're sure as hell not losing. Oh, they'll cover. The one team that could beat them is not in, which is Utah with Rising and Kansas State. Those 2 teams with their defenses and their quarterbacks could have beat Georgia. You need a team with a big defense to beat Georgia, right? Because you're not fucking around with their offense. Rising could have handled their defense better than anybody else. He's probably the best quarterback. Or Thompson Robinson at UCLA, maybe they could have figured out something because they have balance, and Utah has good running with the quarterback. So Utah and UCLA would have given Georgia the game, right? TCU, are they balanced enough? Do they run enough? It's Max Duggan. Running quarterbacks don't do well against Georgia. They do well against Alabama. They'd have beat Alabama. Michigan has no chance with their quarterback. And then what the fuck's Ohio State doing in there? Who did Ohio State beat to deserve to be in the playoff when you're looking at Utah and Kansas State just beat 2 very strong teams You put Ohio State in ahead of Kansas State and Utah. Utah should have been in ahead of Ohio State. I'm sorry. Ohio State does not deserve to be there. What did they do? They went undefeated, and then they lost to a weak Michigan team, and they basically beat They beat Iowa. That's their win. Or a 4-loss Notre Dame team, which USC also beat Notre Dame. Why wouldn't USC be in there? USC doesn't have defense. That's their problem. But Utah and UCLA do. And that they should be in ahead of Ohio State. What is Ohio State doing in there? Well, you think they have a chance against Georgia? Is going to kill them. And then TCU beats Michigan and Georgia TCU, which is a good game. Does TCU have a chance? Well, TCU beat Kansas State 38-28 a few weeks ago. So that's a huge help to them. Beating Kansas State and beating Texas will help them against Georgia. They played strong defensive teams. Bobby, speaking of LSU, the backup quarterback made a few good throws deep downfield, unlike Daniels, who holds the ball then just constantly take. Oh, well, they brought in the backup. That's who they should have played. That's what I thought they would have done the whole year with Boutte. You have the best receiver in football, Boutte, on LSU, and you got a running quarterback. Are you out of your fucking mind? So what, did the kid with the sprained ankle, or just they decided to put the backup in? No wonder they scored 30 points. The backup was very good. I can't believe they didn't have it that. Deutschland, are you in Germany now or what? Why are you so attracted to children? Disgusting, pathetic. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry, dude. We're talking football here. I don't get that at all. Anyway, yeah, the LSU quarterback is, he should have been their starter, I thought. I thought that's what they'd go, and especially with the quarterback or with the coach. I mean, the Notre Dame guy always had passing quarterbacks. So I'm a little bit surprised of that. Anyway, so I just think these certain teams should be. I mean, again, what did Ohio State win? What was their point of that? They didn't beat anybody. So I'll give them the Notre Dame win, week 1 against the other quarterback, and then they beat Iowa. They didn't play Illinois. They beat Wisconsin, who sucked. Michigan State, Penn State. If you want to call Penn State a top 10 team, I don't know why they'd be a top 10 team. Michigan beat them big. So maybe Michigan deserves it. They did beat Ohio State there. Beating Purdue didn't show anything. So I see that, but that's about it. So this should have been a playoff week. There's no point in TCU playing Kansas State and then Kansas State doesn't get in the playoffs. So, again, I wonder what is the point of this weekend? This conference championship's a joke. I think the initial was Alabama was playing Florida, and they didn't play, so it gave you the SEC champ. That was, I think, the initial thought of it. But now I guess it's so East can play West and you get the champ, but it's not anywhere. It doesn't make any sense anymore. So hopefully they get rid of this week. It doesn't serve a purpose. Anyway, so that is college. We got Army Navy this week. Now here we go. This is lock under week, but you have Army 1.5, 33.5 against Navy. I kind of like Navy in the points, although their quarterback got hurt. They're still playing well. Army really didn't play all that well, but they had a really hard schedule. Over under 33.5. This is tough because normally, this is lock under, but they've been scoring points. Army and Navy are not these weak, just run the ball into the line 3 times. These are much stronger people. So I don't see that. I definitely see more points possibly from these teams. So in other words, when you run your just wishbones, they both know how to defend it because they see it in practice. They've gone to a different type of teams now. So because they've gone to more passing attacks, and Navy's been over a lot, and Army scoring more points. But Army put up 40. What was the Army? Army had beaten UMass 44-7. Well, UMass doesn't count. What did Navy do? But Navy had scored 2. And I'm just looking back the week before everybody played, so there should be a Navy. Where are they? How did Navy not play? They had to. Well, I don't see Navy the last week, but Army put up 47 on a weak Mass team. Low total, yeah, it's a low. It's too low. We don't want you betting under. But as I'm saying, I think it's almost an over 27 because these teams are scoring more. The reason it's under, like I say, is wishbone against wishbone, or 99% running, and they know how to defense it because that's what they practice against. The key to stopping Army Navy is the practice. You can't practice it because they perfected it and they run it at a faster speed than you practice it. So it's always faster in the game. That's why you have trouble. But since Army and Navy both run it in practice, they can defend it. But now they're more open. They do more scoring. They do more passing. Navy lost their quarterback, but the backup came in and threw. So I would be surprised if this is 16-10. But I'll tell you, 17-13, you got a winner on the over, and I can't imagine you're not going to get 17-13 because I think it's way too low. If this was like in the 40s, yes, it's an under 40, under 46. To go under 39, maybe you get it, but 33, it's just so low. Anyway, so that's college again. Very successful, 7-2. Again, K-State and Utah should be in the playoff. It's just ridiculous. So I would think 16 teams. I don't know what you got to lose. What's the difference between 8, 12, 16? Are you saying you can't find 16 teams to put in the playoff? Well, they're all in these stupid bowl games, so I don't really understand that. What is the point with the bowl games, right? So I don't know really what's the difference if you have a bowl game with Utah and Penn State in the Rose Bowl, or it's a playoff game. Yeah, Georgia's that strong, and LSU was that strong when they played. And you have that one team, but look at New England. They were undefeated, and the Giants beat them. So it's a matchup thing that different styles of team are going to affect you. Georgia, you can't really find a different style. Well, it sounds like LSU found with the good quarterback came in, and they couldn't handle the receivers. So that might bother Georgia, but then again, Georgia put up 50 points, so I got to watch the tape. Anyway, so that's college. Keep an eye. So we'll keep an eye on Troy in the bowls. Troy, Tulane, Fresno. Those are real strong bowl teams. The problem with the bowls are in the beginning, you get the MAC against the Sun Belt. Oh, okay, we're going to have Ohio against Coastal Carolina. Good luck. That's what gets difficult. But then when you get to the second week, you start at least getting the Utahs in it, the Washingtons in it, the Tulane gets in it, UCF, and you start getting better teams in it, and that really helps with your. It really helps with your picking, right? That's when I started going. So in the beginning last year, I was probably 3-3 or something. Then Army beat Missouri with a field goal, and I had Army even, and that got it going. And then I hit Air Force, and then I ran the table after that. I think I was like 12, 13-0. I hit all the New Year's Eve, all the New Year's Day, all my locks. So it was a great New Year's. All right, so that's college. So again, I don't know what the lines are. I looked yesterday; they didn't even have it out there. I went on Yahoo, I went on Scores and Odds, and I went on Vegas Insider, and I didn't see the games. The only game I did see a couple. There was a few games that North Texas and Boise, Miami of Ohio, UAB, there you go, and Middle Tennessee, San Diego State, which again that's their problem games. Middle Tennessee and San Diego State, an over team against an under team, so it makes it a little difficult. So we will see from there, but no, we're looking for the good matchups. We should have a ton with my guess is they'll play USC against Baylor or against one of these explosive Big 12 teams. Bobby, Professor, do you think the stock market crashes before the end of the year? No, I don't think so. Right now, they're keeping it up. The stock market's being manipulated. That's why it's up, because there's no reason. We're in a recession, or at least a slowing economy. At worst, we know the economy is slowing, and we know there's inflation. Why would the market go up? Inflation means if we just take the basic, you've printed too much money, it's worth less, and things are more expensive because of it. How does a company make more profit? If their costs go up, then how are they going to be more profitable? And if the costs go up for us, how do we buy more? And we're not buying cars at 5-6%. So when we go to the grocery store and pay our bills, we're not sitting there with buying other goods and service. So therefore, why would the stocks go up? Even Amazon's laying off, and I don't know how Facebook made money. It made no sense. Advertising, it still makes no sense. I'm ready to crush YouTube with all the fucking ads. I'm trying to watch the highlights of the football game. Every 3 minutes, there's these little stupid commercials that break your concentration. Or if you're watching, the problem I have when you watch regular TV and then there's a normal break and then they go to the commercial. So you've got your little thought process down. On YouTube, you're in your middle of your thought process and they cut to a commercial. I'm listening to these economics guys, and right in the middle of a sentence, commercial. So I replay it to get back into the thought of what the guy's doing. What a pain in the ass that is. Or Roku, what a pain in the ass that is. You're watching a movie and it kills you. So the stock market's not going to crash because the Federal Reserve is keeping it. It's putting money into the market to keep it from crashing, but it is crashing, and it will crash. And there's two reasons. One, the earnings will drop because of the inflation, because of the higher cost. Two, people will be taking their money out to safe haven it, either to buy gold or silver, or just to pay their rent and everything else. And people will start losing their jobs. So that's going to make you need money. You take it out, you sell your stock. Well, nobody's putting their money into the stock. Maybe your 401ks are, but it's mostly the Federal Reserve printing money, putting it into the stock market. Greg and John, how long you been doing this on YouTube? Probably 6 or 7 years. I have an introductory one. So initially, what I used to do, Greg, is I used to do the video. You would do it and record it, and I used to record it on my computer and then upload it into YouTube. And so it would be just me saying, "Here's the games I like." Da 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 da. The same expose I use, but just me talking. And I talked for like a half hour, and then I'd post it. And then I stumbled on so you could do it live. And I want the interaction. I want the questions. I want the comments because I want to teach. So this is more of a class now where I'm teaching. And as you saw in the beginning, where I made the guys money because they listened to my picks and they won 18 teasers and stuff. That's what I want to do. So now I go live, and now as the questions roll in, that's why these go longer. Bobby's asking me a question. I'm going to say, Bobby, I got to go. It's an hour. So we keep going. He keeps asking. You keep asking, which is what I want. I want this to be a class and the interaction. So on YouTube, I'd say 5 or 6 years. There should be a disclaimer if you go to my initial page. It probably has a date. Or if you go into my videos, you can see we were talking yesterday. Bobby, I don't know if you saw that, the Virginia Tech Boise game we talked about. That has to be 5 years old, 6 years old, Kellen Moore. And I picked the score, and that was on YouTube. So I'm going to say at least 6 or 7 years. I've been betting on football since 1969 because I remember the bets, and I remember the Super Bowl. And I've been doing teasers since 77. Once I discovered them, I didn't know there was teasers. And my dad knew I bet football. I bet it with him. And we used his bookie. This is back in the 70s. And then 76, 77, he told me about teasers. And I said, I don't need teasers. And then I started figuring them out. My first teaser was the Cotton Bowl, Joe Montana against Earl Campbell, where I bet Joe Montana, and I actually bet both teams because the spread was like 1. So I took Campbell in 7 and Montana in 5, but learned you play them in different. You play one and you play it. You wouldn't play it in the same teaser. So I learned that, but that's when I started playing teasers, and I've evolved figuring out things. If I lose, I ask why. If I win, I ask why, and I slowly develop different theories to avoid losing. Which I do pretty well. Greg, they make the products cheaper and inflate the price. Yes. That's why this channel is great. You can actually just learn and not be interrupted by those annoying ads. Well, that's another reason. Now, I don't take the ads. And I don't know if when you watch this, so now I'm on YouTube and you're working, but you want to see it. Or Bobby, you were in Dallas, so you weren't on live. Maybe you went and saw it. I do not. There's a way you can go for commercials or not. I check no, I don't want commercials. I don't want to be interrupted. So I don't know if you watch it back, if you keep getting these stupid commercials. I believe it's when the guy says yes, you can show the commercials. And then I don't know if you get paid for them or not, but that's not the thrust of what I'm trying to do. Profit. Bubba Smith claims Super Bowl III was rigged for the Jets to win. Okay. Sure. I mean, look who they paid off. Don Shula, Earl Morrall. You telling me he wasn't paid off? Absolutely. And I'm sure a ref. I've heard that before. I agree. If you watch the game, there's no question about it. Earl Morrall and the play calling was so bad. Baltimore gets a turnover right away. What do? He throws an interception. Then he get another turnover. And again, he throws these interceptions. Instead of just running it down their throat and scoring, they kept throwing interceptions in the end zone. Then at the end of the half, the flea flicker that worked before they show you in the Atlanta game, and the guy's wide open. He throws it and touchdown. They run the same flea flicker. But this time, Morrall, who his primary receiver is Jimmy Orr, wide open in the middle, he is wide open again, but he doesn't throw it to him. He throws it over the middle where it's intercepted. Now, this was late in the half. It didn't mean anything. The guy's wide open. Your primary receiver, who you would look for, is wide open. and you don't throw it to him, come on, man. That's absolutely was fixed. I don't know about the credibility or it's just whatever. Again, Baltimore was 17-point favorites, had just beaten Jim Brown in Cleveland 35-0. All right. And, the Jets, they had Namath with the quick release. Now, to get into a little bit of background, the Baltimore Colts defensive coordinator was Chuck Noll, the head coach of Pittsburgh. And the Jet defensive coordinator was Buddy Ryan. Yes, Buddy Ryan of the 46th defense. So that's why the defenses were so strong. Now, had we played the game today the way I pick, we would have probably played it under. We would have ignored the 17. We can't lay 17. Do we take 23? I don't know. We're scared. But guess what? It's an under. And that's what we would have played. And then why did Johnny Unitas come in so late? He was obviously healthy. He comes in late in the fourth quarter, throws a touchdown. Why didn't he start? You got Johnny Unitas. You're going to play Earl Morrall? That's where Shula's paid off. So he finally lets in Unitas, figuring, well, even if he scores, we can't, we're not going to win. We're not going to cover the 17. And you can see Unitas trying, but Earl Morrall absolutely was paid off. There's no doubt about it. He clearly made extremely bad decisions. It was like Aaron Rodgers a few weeks ago in Detroit where the game was fixed, and he hits the guy in the helmet on purpose, and the ball bounces out. It's intercepted. And they drove to the 5-yard line 3 times, and he throws 3 interceptions. That game was fixed. The Detroit Green Bay game 3 weeks ago. And that's what he did. Earl Morrall hits his own guy in the head. The ball pops out. It's intercepted. What the fuck was that? I mean, who are you aiming for? And then you're trying to tell me you're a professional quarterback? I could do it and not hit the guy. So that's what happens. But, yes, it was definitely fixed. That was the one thing about the Steelers. They didn't fix games. I had them in Super Bowl, against the Rams, and they were laying 11.5, and I thought I'm done. The Rams were scoring. I'm like, oh, I'm fucked. And then the Rams miss an extra point, and then Pitt scores 2 touchdowns and wins by 12. And it was a game I didn't tease because it didn't, I just thought they're going to kill them. And I didn't tease, and I won it because the Rams missed the extra point in the game. But obviously Pittsburgh didn't fix a lot of games. They won a lot. Oakland probably fixed a lot. Now, the interesting part, what was I going to say? Shit. I just lost my thought there. Anyway, so that was normally I play teasers because if I don't play it and I would have won with the teaser, I really have a hard time dealing with it because I play so many teasers and I win with the teaser. Like our lock yesterday, Seattle, LA, they win by 4, but I win because I'm laying a half. If I didn't tease that and that was the score, I'd have killed myself because they would have won with the teaser. That's why I always play the teaser. And the same with San Diego, Oakland. My other lock ended up being 47. The over-under I had was 50. I wouldn't have won it because they didn't get there. But in their world, that's their point. We won't get the 50. We'll get to 47, and that'll be it. That's the beauty of the teaser. It takes the fix out of it because nobody's trying to fix teasers. They're only trying to fix the regular spread. So if it's 50, we'll score 47. In our world, we're over 43.5. We locked it. And we won. So both of those games would not have won. The Cincinnati game, we won anyway. Now that I liked the balls on that one. I took Cincy plus the 8.5, and they win the game straight out. That I like. Joe Burrow all day. That's the beauty of it. So I guess we can walk through the pros. There wasn't a lot of college to walk through. I don't have the bowl games fully yet. All I can say is I don't know what Georgia, Ohio State's going to be. We obviously like Georgia. Probably the under in the game. Michigan, TCU. I love the dog. I'll take TCU. They'll probably be getting at least 7 points. I'll take TCU in 13. I think they'll win the game. Over, under, probably over. TCU scores. I'll figure it to be like Kansas, right? 31-28. So depending on what the over under is, if it's 50s, we'll go over. If it's 60s, we'll go under. But I think it'll probably be like 51. It'll probably be like yesterday's. Michigan was what? 51 and 16 and a half. I think it'll be 8-9, and then probably the 51 and a half. Because Purdue's a good scoring team with the weak defense. Prophet, are you teasing tonight's? No, I don't like tonight's game. Well, I keep going over and over it. Let's check the line. So if we look at the line, we've got Tampa Bay 41 and a half, up from 40 and a half. I don't know who's betting this over. My initial reaction, so when I look at the teams, I rank them by scores. I use scores a lot. So my initial reaction was New Orleans is an even teams. They score 24, 25. They give up about that. But their defense is kind of an over defense. So they give up 20. I'm making the 24, 25 in the defensively an over. Tampa Bay's an under team, mostly because of the injuries. Their defense has so many injuries. So the statistics are kind of weird. I don't trust them. Tampa Bay's 3.5. Can I count Tampa Bay to win? Their coach is so bad, I can't. I like Dalton. Kamara's playing. Olave's playing. So I think New Orleans, they look better than they did against Frisco last week, where it was 13-0. They got to the goal line twice. Kamara fumbled once. The other guy fumbled once. So they fumbled at the goal line. So really, they could have got 14. They drove inside the Frisco 5. So they will drive inside the Tampa. They got too many injuries. If I bet, you can bet against Tampa and New Orleans. And betting against New Orleans is a real good thing. And that betting on New Orleans and Tampa, there's nothing there. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of like New Orleans in 9.5 because I think they can score. Over under 41.5. I got kind of a number with Tampa. New Orleans is not an under defense, so it makes it hard. Tampa should move on New Orleans because their defense isn't that great, and Brady's Brady, and Jones and Evans are playing. So I look for Tampa to move the ball. It's a very confusing game for me because Tampa's so badly coached, and they haven't been scoring. I've got the under circled, but I am very confused by this game. I think the only way I could play it is New Orleans in 9.5 and hope Kamara and Olave have a good game and that Brady will have his. But the 17 on Cleveland is a joke. How you only score 17 on a weak defense like that. So that makes me like New Orleans in 9.5. So the roundabout way I got there, it's not a clear thing, but they both need the game for the playoffs. So I would say profit to take the 9.5 in New Orleans and maybe play it with the Army, Navy, maybe take Navy in 7.5. Looks like probably the way to go. Now, I had given you 5 bad teams to play against, and I gave you the Rams were 10-0 against, are now 11-0 against. So the Rams, Atlanta, San Diego, if you bet against them, you won. Denver didn't, if you bet against them, because they lost 10-9, but Lamar Jackson gets hurt in the first quarter. If he plays, do they win? Does Baltimore win? That's really the question. So we will have to see that. However, outside of that, let's go through it. So Pitt, Atlanta. Atlanta, I hit Atlanta in 7.5. That wins. Pitt wins 19-16. Doesn't blow you out, which I didn't think. And the road, which I wouldn't think they would. Why? Well, here's the problem with the 6 and a 7-point teaser. On the 7-point teaser, you're paying more juice. I don't think it's worth it. Do you need 10.5 here? Yes, I like the 10.5 over the 9.5, but I don't think it matters. I think as long as you're over 7 or 8 in the game, I think you're fine because of all these go for twos and all this other bullshit, and the kickers can't make extra points. I think over 8 is really your key number here. I don't think Tampa can win by 10, but it depends how much more juice you're giving, because that makes you have to win another game to make up for the juice. So I always prefer the 6-point teaser over the 7 and pay less in juice and bet more on the game than the 7. But, who are you going to tease it with? Navy? Well, next week's games are out, but I haven't had a chance to look at them. I did put in the lines. We can go that. I'll try to find a game for you. So Pitt, Atlanta. Atlanta needed the game. They lose close, 19-16, just what I thought. So Atlanta plus as the dog worked out. Washington, the Giants, a playoff game. It ends 20-20. Stupid overtime. And over under 40.5. It hits right there. And everybody will say, oh, look at Vegas. They nailed it. Yeah, they really nailed it with the Buffalo game was 43 and it was 34. Oops. Just a second. I like being on the good side of the key numbers. Well, I agree with you. Same game teaser, so you're looking over under. Well, I guess I'd go over 34. That it's really a tough one because it's. I think New Orleans can score on them, and I think Brady can score. 34 is what 20-17 is a winner. So I think you'd be fine there. That's probably a good way to go. Anyway, so let's see. So Washington and the Giants, we got I would have preferred Washington as the dog. I didn't really trust the Giants as the dog. It ends 20-20. Again, I'm not big on Washington as a road favorite yet. I mean, you still got Heineke. He's not. The 40, I liked it under, so I hit that, but I didn't play it. But it's kind of a playoff game. Green Bay, Chicago, I nail it. Once both quarterbacks are announced, I play the over. I locked the over. I got it in at 43.5 and a little at 44.5. So that's 37. They play a 47, 28-19. So that was an easy over because Fields is still running like a crazy man. And Rodgers, I knew, was going to eat up the secondary. So that's what I'm looking at. Both defenses were over, which made this, once both quarterbacks were playing, an over game, and that's what happened. Rodgers came on at the end, started throwing touchdowns, which when they're down, he needs to do it. He does it. That's the beauty of Rodgers. They tend to have a tendency of, when they get the lead, letting the clock run out to 1 and then running the ball, and it kills you because he just eats the clock up. But when they're down, it's good because you know he's going to get there. Under 48. I don't know. I think that's okay. I think the over's okay too. I think Kamara scores and I think Brady scores. I think you're going to look in the 20s, maybe 24-20. So you could go under 48 or over 35. I think you're a winner either way. It fits about that. I don't think Because if New Orleans starts going, they're going to run Kamara. Brady, Fournette's playing, they can run him. But you got Brady. He should be good for, it should be about a 20-17 point, somewhere in that area. The Jets in Minnesota, I got the Jets in 9. I think the game's even. I take the dog, 27-22. Now, it's a weird game. Minnesota jumps out to the lead, and you're going, oh, Minnesota's going to bury him. The Jets score and then had the ball real deep again 2 more times and could have easily won the game. I think they leave it on a end zone pass that doesn't connect late in the game, or the Jets win. So, again, Minnesota is not that strong. The Jets are a much better team than we think. They're much stronger than we think. So I like the Jets and the 9, and the Jets win. So that was beautiful. Cleveland, Houston, again. Now this we just had to watch. We don't know what Deshaun Watson's going to do after 2 years. He beats Houston 27-14. I like the game over 40. It goes to 41, so that didn't win. Again, now I could play this game Cleveland because Watson played, although I want to look at the stats and the highlights. Tennessee, Philly, this was one of 2 losers. I take Tennessee. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. The under does win, 45, over under 44, so under 50 wins. I took Tennessee. They played KC, Green Bay pretty well. I thought they'd play them close. Again, Philly is maybe better than I am thinking. Now I have some fabric that, okay, they beat a good Tennessee team. So now maybe Philly, is this team we should just jump on and bet. Philly, they're pretty good against the number. They lost a few, but those could be the first few weeks. So if I look at them from week 3 on, they're probably very strong in a teaser. Jacksonville, Detroit, I nailed the over there. It's the only way you can play it. You certainly can't trust Trevor Lawrence to win you a game. You can't trust Detroit to win you a game. So the whole point, who's going to win, you can't trust. It could go like this. It could have went Jacksonville 40-14 just as easily. But we know Detroit is an over team, no defense. We know Jacksonville is pretty weak defensively. Baltimore 28-27. We figure it's going to be about that, which it was. That was 55. This was 54. Over under 51. We go over the 45. It's another W. Denver, Baltimore. Now this game is skewed. I had it under. I won with it under on an 8-teamer with Todd. But really, I don't know. Lamar Jackson's going to get hurt in the first quarter. So, again, this is the problem with Lamar Jackson running. He gets hurt. They win 10-9. I know Denver's not going to do much. Even if Jackson played, maybe they get 20, and then Denver's going to get their 9. You're still going to be under 45. That was easy. Denver's just a low-scoring team and makes a lot of low-scoring games. Miami and Frisco, this is my other loser. Now, Frisco wins on a turnover, or I'm going to win 26-17. I got 10.5 in Miami. I go under 45 is 51.5. It does go under 33-17 because the Niners defense I'm figuring under. What I'm not figuring on is the Niners scoring 33, especially with my man Brock Purdy from Iowa State. I like Brock Purdy. He's a good quarterback. Don't sell him short. I am very comfortable betting the Niners with Brock Purdy. He's very good. Again, at Iowa State, he had to play Texas and Baylor and Oak State and Oak and TCU and all those teams, and he was very good. I thought should have been drafted higher, and the Niners don't need another quarterback. They are fine with this guy in the playoffs. There's no problem there. So I like so the Niners won. They stayed under for me. And again, like the Philly game, I should have played it under. I took the dog, and I took Miami. This was my other. I took it very, very small. This was not a big bet. This is where the expected outcome was very low of what I was going to get. The under was a bigger expected outcome than Miami. You're just hoping it's going to be close. And then what happened? I told you, take Tagliabue against these good teams. disappears. He didn't have a good game. He never has a good game against the better teams. This is the knock I have on Tagliabue. He doesn't know how to win and play good defensive teams. He folds. This is the problem. He'll never be any good because like Lamar Jackson, when they get up against these really good defenses, he's nowhere to be found because Tagliabue just, he doesn't know how to read defenses. He's just not good. He's accurate, but not good. Seattle and the Rams, I locked Seattle minus only a half. I didn't understand the line being so low, especially when Stafford was out, Donald was out. Give the Rams credit. They looked good with Wolford. Their defense wasn't that good, but they scored a lot with Wolford, and that goes back to the coach. I had to win it late, but I did win it. Geno Smith looks fine. Seattle looks fine. Seattle has no defense. So Seattle's basically an over team. They're an over defense. This could have been played over. The over-under was 40.5. So over 34 in a Seattle game. You almost got Seattle to do it for you by themselves. But this goes over at 50, only a 40.5. But without Stafford and not knowing Wolford, it's hard to bet the Rams. But now Cam Akers played, and now a bunch of receivers I've never heard of played. And the Rams, apparently will be okay without Stafford from an offensive standpoint. Without Aaron Donald, I don't know. But again, they played a very weak defensive team in Seattle. So they had their moments. I watched the highlights, but they didn't, they shouldn't have had to score with the last minute to win the game. Thank God they did. And that's the beauty of the teaser. All I needed was the win. I had laying a half a point. So there you go. So we got that. That was locked. The next lock, San Diego, Oakland. 2 over teams, 2 good quarterbacks, 2 shitty defenses, 2 shitty coaches. Over under 50 went down to 49. I don't know why. This said I would never play this game under. And they end up 27-20 with like 8 minutes left. I hit my over. I'm over 44, 43.5. They get to 47. Now, early in the game, San Diego's got the ball at the 17-yard line. And they got this like 3rd and something. It goes 4th and 2. Oh, it's 3rd and 2. And then they throw a pass into the end zone, and they're at the 17. And it goes off the fingers of Eckler, which was, I thought, a bad pass from the standpoint that he was well covered. He wasn't open in his 3rd and 2. So, again, the idiot coach on 4th and 2, instead of kicking your field goal and take the lead and take the momentum, goes for 4th and 2. Really, Herbert's going to pass. It wasn't like a quarterback sneak. Then he tries to scramble, and he doesn't get the 2 yards. So, basically, I thought that was kind of strange that they did that. Again, you're giving up momentum and points, right? You lost by 7. If you kick the field goal, you got momentum. Now, the ironic part was 2 plays later, Carr throws a pick 6, and I get my 7 that way. And now I got the momentum back, but you should have kicked your field goal. You still would have got the pick 6. But this is the part I don't get. 4th and 2 at the 17 early in the game. Why aren't you kicking the field goal? And the problem is you go for it. Even if you get it, you're probably going to kick the field goal anyway because you got a fumble, right? So you recovered a fumble deep, and then you're going from there. So I don't really get what the point was of the thing of the trend, right? Why are you going for 4th down? I mean, what makes you go for it? We thought we were going to get it, but if you don't get it, you give up momentum and you don't get points. Why would you give up points? You're at the 17, kick your field goal 100% of the time. If you miss it or it's blocked, okay. But at that, you've got to go for it. And I thought that was really that's the problem with these coaches now. That is when you kick your field goal 100% of the time. Because even if you get it, okay, now it's 1st and 10 at the 15. What are you going to do? You're probably kicking a field goal anyway. It doesn't give you the reward for the risk. The risk is you give up momentum. And okay, the field position you keep, but you got to get your score. So that was the problem. And, and that's why San Diego keeps losing. But that's the beauty of San Diego. I also played them plus 8.5. Once I saw the spread jump to 2.5, I took San Diego and 8.5. Again, betting against San Diego is like gold. It's now 39-6 because they're so badly coached. They lose the games, but they are so skilled that they keep the games close. So if they were laying 1.5, you got Oakland and 7.5, you win. Here they're getting 2.5, so you take San Diego and 8.5, and you win. So again, it's a close game, but going against Oakland, it's an over game. If they're going against other teams, Jacksonville or maybe Denver. So when San Diego plays Denver, you can't go over with it. You got to go under because you're not going to get help from Denver, and their defense is going to keep the score low. So a lot of it depends on who you play. KC Cincinnati, as I just said, I took the dog in the game. If Cincy was favored, I'd have taken KC. Why was KC favored? I have no idea. Joe Burrow's red hot, and Cincinnati they don't easily win, but they had the ball late, deep, and they just took knees. So they win 27-24. Also, I like the over 52, which got there, but I was on Cincy and 8.5. And what a beautiful play at the end. It's 3rd and long, and Cincy will have to either try a field goal or just, punt the ball inside the 5 or something. And Burrow pressures on him, and somehow he's like about to get sacked. He just fires the ball, and Higgins catches it, and they get a first down out of it. And then they just took the knees. It was such a beautiful – because you look like Burrow's in trouble, right? You can just see they're all collapsing on him, and yet they still win. So Cincinnati was the play, a home dog. You got to take Burrow. Dallas, Indy, I really can't make up a decision. I eventually go over 44. Even though both teams have an under defense, I think Prescott's going to score more and turn it over, which he did. And it was all the fourth quarter. It's a close game, and then the fourth quarter, touchdown, 54-19 is a 73, easily over 44. So that worked. And then so the playoff teams – Atlanta loses, Washington Giants tie, the Jets many play a close game. Tennessee, Phillies, Philly blows them out. Baltimore, Denver, Lamar gets hurt. Miami, Frisco, a playoff game. Frisco beats them. Seattle needs it for the playoff win. San Diego needs it for the playoff, loses. KC, Cincinnati, a playoff game is close. Dallas needs it for the playoff, wins. And then tonight, New Orleans, Tampa, even though they only have 4 and 5 wins, it's the winner of their division. So it's really probably take the dog in the game. And then, we can argue over under. I guess under is just as good as over in this game. So that's how we see it. Again, 9-2 yesterday, 3 locks, 3 winners. The Bears over, Oakland over, and then Seattle against the Rams without Stafford, Kupp, or Aaron Donald made it seem very reasonable to go over as it did. So next week, let's take a quick look. Oakland and the Rams. So you would think, again, Oakland's rolling. The Rams don't have Kupp, and they don't have Donald, and they don't have Stafford. You would think would be an easy one. But as you saw, Wolford looked good. Again, this is the NFL. So Wolford is a pro quarterback, even though we never heard of him. We don't know what college, but he's got a good coach. So he knows basically how to get points. Over under 42. I look at it as an over. Oakland has no defense. Neither of the Rams don't really have a good defense. And they just aren't scoring, but they scored yesterday. Now, again, it was against a weak defensive team in Seattle. Here you got a weak defensive team in Oakland. 42, I think, is a joke. I think that goes over. The way the coach is coaching and the way Wolford looks good and these receivers you never heard of are playing. This should go over. Oakland should score, and they don't have a defense. Minnesota, Detroit. Probably just tease the dog. The way Minnesota doesn't scare you. Detroit's playing well. They're scoring. They're both over defenses, so over under a 51, over 45. Probably an over. I mean, again, it's like the Lions can't stop Jefferson and Thielen and Cook's healthy. You got balance. Detroit seems to be able to score, put up 25 on Buffalo. I think this is an easy over 45, 24-21. I think the first game it was 28-24 they played. And Detroit's looking a little bit better offensively. Their defense still sucks. The Jets in Buffalo. Buffalo minus 10 and 44. I think this is an under game. I think the Jets' strong defense. What was the score yesterday with Minnie? 27-22. Played a 49. So, yeah, you could probably go over or under, maybe a little bit more under. Buffalo with the good defense. I don't like Buffalo laying 10 to the Jets. I think the Jets in 16 is a really good play. Let's see if we can find that lock. Baltimore, Pitt. Baltimore 4.5. Now, is Lamar Jackson playing? And even if Lamar Jackson plays, I think I still like Pitt. I think I like Pitt in 10.5. They're at home. They're a very strong home dog. Baltimore doesn't show me everything. And if TJ Watt played yesterday, which he was questionable with ribs, I like Pitt in 10.5 here. Now, Pitt's kind of out of the playoff chase, but where's Buffalo laying 4.5? They couldn't win in Jacksonville. I don't know. This whole Baltimore line I don't get. Now, here's a real strong one. Cincinnati 3.5 over Cleveland. Over under a 47.5. I love the over in the game, but I love Cincinnati. I got a -7. They're only 3.5. What's wrong with this line? Oh, we're going to give Deshaun Watson this much credit this soon. He played one game in 2 years. That's it. We're gonna take Cleveland because of Deshaun Watson. I got to watch that tape and see if he was any good. I'm sure he was, but playing the whole game, and you're playing Houston. Here you're playing a real defense in Cincinnati, who just beat KC. How are they only laying 3.5 here? I love Cincinnati in 2.5 right off the bat. Checking injuries, but you have Chase back. Higgins is playing well. Burrow's healthy. I don't see how you don't take Cincy here. Tennessee 3.5 over Jacksonville. Now you got Tennessee off of a loss, over under 42. I'm certainly liking the Tennessee here. Off a loss to Philly, they need the game because Cincinnati who's chasing them? Indy. This is such a weak division. But I think Tennessee should light up this Jacksonville defense. I'll have to look at the history, but this looks like a Tennessee play all the way. Maybe an under, but I think more of a Tennessee. The Dallas 14 over Houston, over 47. You're gonna get a 33-point quarter again. Houston stinks. I mean, they've been the worst team for a couple years. Them with Jacksonville. Dallas laying 14, such a big number, and yet it isn't. But I don't trust Prescott. But yeah, they'll probably, as long as you keep it under 10, maybe over 47. I don't think Houston can stop them. Philly 6 over the Giants. Now here, the way if Philly's really this team, I mean, this is a joke. Philly down to even against the Giants. I mean, they should kill them. They're the 18. The Giants are even. 2020 with Washington. Here's where it gets confusing. Everybody thinks Washington's this great team. They make them a road favorite, which they don't cover. And then they go and play at 2020. And now you think, well, maybe the Giants are better. And this is the problem. Philly, I think, defensively can shut down the Giants running. which leaves the Giants having to pass. They're in trouble. Plus, Philly should score and should take the lead, which will really kill the Giants. I think the Giants had the lead yesterday. So I like Philly even here. I mean, this looks like a joke. I got to check injuries, of course. KC 7 over Denver. Is that as easy as it sounds? Because KC plays Denver twice a year. So Denver's not afraid of KC, and they're used to them. So that's the thing. When you play them twice a year, you get used to the team speed, the plays. They come out, the formation, they're going to do this and that based on the formation. You got Mahomes, you understand him. So I like, right off the bat, KC -1 off of a loss. Hard to believe they're going to lose 2 in a row, especially to Denver, but who knows. Frisco 7 over Tampa. Now they got Brock Purdy. So I'm very comfortable taking Brock Purdy. But why are they laying 7 with Brock Purdy? I think Tampa should have been favored here with Brady. I got to take Tampa in 13 to tell you the truth, I think. We'll see what happens tonight, but Niners with the defense. But this guy, and the way the coach is, I'm not worried about the quarterback scoring. I'm more worried about Brady and his coach scoring than I am about Brock Purdy. Again, I like him from that. I think under might be the play with this tough defense, and we'll look at Tampa's defense tonight. So we'll get a little bit more. But I think Tampa in 13, Brady in 13, really. He's not the problem, Tom Brady. Seattle 7-42 against Carolina. Again, the problem I have with Seattle is their defense. If they couldn't blow out the Rams with Wolford at quarterback and a bunch of receivers we never heard of before, I don't see how they're going to blow out Carolina. They should, but again, this is another maybe Seattle -1. And again, it's not because of the line being 7. It's because of it's because of the matchup. See, I hate when they look at this BD Wong guy, and I know it's not his real name, but there is a BD Wong I like, and he's an actor. And, if it's 7, go down to 1. Well, you can't just do it because of the line. You got to do it because of the matchup. So I do like Seattle I think it'll be a high-scoring game. Even though I don't like Darnold, but Carolina was off. Let's see, Carolina the week before. Carolina, they beat Denver 23-10. So they scored 23 on Denver's pretty good feat. Greg and John. Well, thank you, Greg. When it's something that you love to do and you're passionate about it and you've been doing it for 30, 40 years, I'm very quick at it because I'm very analytical and I like problem solving. And this is all problem solving to get to the expected outcome. That's what this is. And so I know what to look for, what variables I want to look for to solve the problem. And that's what this is. So thank you very much. Geno Smith looks fine. That touchdown he threw to Metcalf was unbelievable. It was a great catch by Metcalf. And don't forget, it was on the all-pro cornerback was covering Metcalf, and Metcalf just said, you ain't taking the ball. But, yeah, I don't have a problem with Geno Smith. He looks better than Russell Wilson. He doesn't turn it over as much. But that's Coach Pete. That's what a good coach does. Finds the strengths of his players, finds his weakness, stays away from the weakness. Geno Smith had no problem driving the team down and scoring. And he looked like Burrow, where he's under pressure and he calmly just moves a quick move and he throws it when they're collapsing on him. And he nails the guy right in the numbers. He looks very good. So I think Seattle should win. But again, with Seattle, I think you go over because you sweat out that the defense can stop anybody, And, even with Carolina, I'll have to look at that box score against them. But they put up 23 in Denver. They'll put up 23 here. Seattle will put up 30. You'll get a 50-point game, and the over-under is 36. See, the key that I do that Vegas doesn't understand is the changes. Funny thing is I originally had Russell, who? On my fantasy team, and have benched him for the past. Who is Russell? Russell Wilson? Oh, okay. So you originally had Russell Wilson on your fantasy team and have benched him for the past month for Geno, and you've been winning. Yeah, well, that was smart. And in defense of Russell, he doesn't have receivers. I figured I liked your code, Bobby. But that's he doesn't have Hamler is out and Judy's out. So he basically doesn't have receivers. Where Geno Smith's got Metcalf and Lockett, he's got all-star receivers, and Russell Wilson doesn't have anybody. And they never really got it to the timing and everything, and he's got a shitty coach. I mean, if he was at Frisco or L.A., look at L.A. with Wolford. He looks fine. Look at Frisco, Brock Purdy. Okay, I like Brock Purdy. He was good at Iowa State. He's going to come in and light it up. Yet he came in and lighted it up against Miami and against the Towel Boy because he was just an assistant at San Francisco. He wasn't like a head coach or offensive coordinator. So Miami's coach sucks. I don't understand why they hired him. Anyway, so yeah, I like Seattle or the over again. So what Vegas doesn't do is adjust to the player. They look at the number. So they'll look at we're in week 14. They'll look at 12 weeks of numbers and they'll average it out. They'll go, boom. Not tweaking for, wait a minute, Haener for Fresno State's been out. He's back. So we only need Haener numbers. Or now we've got Rising at Utah last year. We've got to adjust Utah's numbers for Rising. They just look at the whole picture. They're not digging in to see what's happening, and that's what I do, but that's not what they do, and that's why one of the reasons we catch them, and one of the reasons I say just give me a few weeks to figure out this year. That's when I'm figuring, oh, wait, who's the new quarterback? Oh, look at the new coach. He's explosive, which is what I found with TCU. It's what I found with Oak State, Kansas State. These were not on my radar in the beginning of the year, but by week 3 or 4, I quickly caught on to Kansas over. How much money did we make playing Kansas over on locks? I think we were like 8-0 on them. We hit them every week. We hit Kansas over every week. I've been a Russell Wilson fan since his Wisconsin days. I love Russell Wilson, and I bet him. I bet him in the Super Bowls. I bet him big against Denver, and I love when Peyton Manning got scared on the first play and it was a safety, and I go, the game's over. The game was over before it started. As soon as on the first play, the game was over. Manning showed his true colors. He's a chicken, and that's what happened to him. But I like Russell Wilson, and that's how you can tell that it's a good quarterback. And the same thing with why I say Rising. Wisconsin is not one of these system plays like Ohio State and Alabama are. Anybody can come into Alabama and Ohio State and light it up because it's a system. So it's not he's a good quarterback. It's in this system, we're going to run the guys and they'll be wide open because it's college and just throw it. And that's what happens in college. But when you got Utah and the other quarterback struggling and they can't score 10 points, and you bring Rising in and he starts scoring 50 a game, and the other guy scored 10, and the same thing with Van Dyke at Miami of Florida, where they're scoring 10 points a game and he comes in and he's throwing up 50. It ain't the system because it didn't work for the other guy, but it did with this guy. Shows you how good a quarterback, and that's really where you understand it. To me, Rising should be the number 1 quarterback in the draft. He's Joe Burrow, and these idiots, well, he's not at Alabama or Ohio State. We can't draft him. Like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? This guy's Joe Burrow. if you watch the highlights of this USC game, there's a play in the third quarter. He's kind of scrambling around. He starts running. He gets hit so hard it takes his helmet off. And you see the helmet on the ground, and he's got kind of long hair, and he put it right back on like nothing happened. And he got stunned because it was a big hit, big enough to take his helmet off. Where was the penalty? Because you obviously hit him in the helmet to take the helmet off. No penalty. He's fine. He keeps lighting it up. And that guy, he's the best quarterback. So is McCall. So's Van Dyke. All these guys. Spencer Sanders. You can see when they're out there and when they're not, the team falls apart. Oak State fell apart without him. When he's there, they're winning every game. Baylor's quarterback's younger, but he's good. And this TCU quarterback, where would they be without him? I mean, he's a winner too. So I don't know why they just say Alabama, well, we'll draft the Alabama quarterback. The rest suck. What, are you kidding me? Anyway, that's them, but you can see it when. Bobby. Yeah, I remember all those Ohio State quarterbacks like Braxton Miller, J.T. Barrett. Would have done great in college, but never got a second look in the pros. I remember that one guy who beat Alabama, the third stringer, and he couldn't even win the starting job the next year. He was so bad. How he beat Alabama and then Oregon, I think, and Ohio State won their national title. So the first two get hurt. The third guy comes. I don't even remember his name. And then he has the balls to go pro the next year, and somebody's stupid enough to draft him, and he couldn't even make the third string. He was terrible. What is he thinking? He has two good games, which are pure luck because he threw the ball deep. And nobody thought he'd throw it because he's the third stringer. And that was, I don't know his name, but he sucked. He sucked. He couldn't get the starting job back at Ohio State. He goes pro. You can't be the starter on your own team. You're going pro. Oh yeah, you'll be good at pro. Google, yeah. Big guy, but not, he was slow. He had a slow release, but he could throw it long, which is like Josh Allen. Everybody loves him but me. Let's get to the end. Miami, 1.5, 51 against San Diego. Love San Diego as the dog here. Tagovailoa is injured. Okay, he plays. This is all over it. Both teams score a lot, have no defense. 51. I go over 45. So, Prophet, if you're still looking for the teaser, then take this game, San Diego, Miami over. Tagovailoa should play, but even if he doesn't, Bridgewater will light it up. Or just take San Diego and 7.5. Why is Miami favorite here? I don't understand it. Yeah, Cardinal Jones. But it just goes on. All of these guys, the one on Washington stinks. Fields stinks. The only reason Fields is doing anything is he's running the ball. He thinks he's playing Lamar Jackson. And, he hurt his shoulder. Now give him credit. Sits out a week, says, fuck it, I'm playing. He plays. Very good. And, okay, fine. But give him credit for that. But, again, they lost again, 28-19 to Green Bay. So the point that's being missed is, he's exciting when he runs, but he lost to the Lions, and now he lost to Green Bay. They lost to the Jets. The bottom line's winning, and he doesn't win. He gets the runs. He's like Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray runs for 20, 25 yards, but he doesn't score the touchdown, and they don't win the game. So the reason they don't is because you need to use your receivers. You need to throw the ball. That loosens the defense so you can run it with your running backs. Look at Joe Burrow yesterday. Great passing, which extends the game. This is the difference. Joe Burrow, what does he do? He's got third and long at the KC 39. They're probably going to punt, which will give KC the last chance to kick the field goal to tie. What does he do? Pressure's coming. He doesn't run. He shifts a little bit one way or the other, throws the ball in a small window to T. Higgins, first down, game's over. That is what Lamar Jackson needs to do, because how many fourth quarter leads did they blow? Then the same thing with Chicago. Look at they lost to the Lions because he couldn't run the clock out and he got sacked. The same thing with Kyler Murray. He's doing that, all this dancing, but when you need a first down and they wait for you and you get sacked because you can't read the coverage. What does Joe Burrow do? He knows T. Higgins, boom, fires the ball in like a cannon. The guy catches it, first down, game over. That's why you need a quarterback, not this bullshit Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, now Fields. Like, you think that's the answer, and this is why the coaches are being fired and the general managers, because they see the running, but they're not seeing is they're not winning the games. And if you don't win the games, you don't last in the league, which is why you had 11 new coaches this year, is because let's go for it on fourth down. We'll go for 2 instead of going to overtime, and we'll lose the games. And guess what? We went 2-13, and guess what? We're out of jobs because we keep going fourth down and we don't have a quarterback. So that is the problem. So love San Diego and 7.5 here, which gets us to our last game. Now keep in mind, we got to look for injuries, which I haven't done yet. New England 2 over and 43 over Arizona. Arizona is not the sharpest dog in the box. New England laying 2.5. And we know how Belichick is with a running quarterback. And we remember the Fields game where Fields puts up 33 against them. Murray's going to have a field day here. I love Arizona at 8. Mac Jones should not be the quarterback, should be Zappy. Again, another situation where you're not playing the better quarterback, but, oh, wait, he's from Alabama. We got to play him. I'm still not sold on Hurts. Although they do have good running and they do have good passing, I would rather, if you put Aaron Rodgers on Philadelphia, they'll never be beat with that offense. Hurts is okay and he runs a lot, but he's not that good of a quarterback. He's not. If you put Joe Burrow on Philly, they never lose with that offense, and they're close to it at Cincinnati. They have the running, Perrine now, and then if they get Bote with Chase, you'll never see Cincinnati lose as long as they're healthy with Burrow, Chase, and Bote and Mixon. Maybe they get another Georgia running back or LSU running back who's like a stud. Forget about it. They won't lose because they got Burrow, not a running quarterback, a good fucking quarterback. So I like Arizona at 8.5, 8 against New England that can't handle. They cannot handle the running quarterback. I don't think the Giants ever really faced it with Lawrence Taylor. See, Belichick gets all this credit because he had Lawrence Taylor. Me and you would have looked good as the defensive coordinator with Lawrence Taylor. The game's starting. I'm going to go have he's screaming at a beer and just Lawrence, just you blitz. I mean, how hard is it to be a defensive coordinator with Lawrence Taylor? That's like you, Bobby. How hard is it to be a pitching coach and you got Nolan Ryan or Verlander? Yeah, I'll just go ahead and pitch. I'll be wait. I'm playing poker now. Go wake me when the game's over. I mean, come on. You want to take credit as a defensive coordinator? You had Lawrence Taylor, and then you go to New England and you had a pretty good defense, but you had Tom Brady, and before Tom Brady, you didn't do shit, and you won because of Tom Brady. And Brady's gone. You can't win shit. You haven't won the division in the 3 or 4 years. You're a great defensive coach. You couldn't stop Fields. So I don't give you the credit that because you had Tom Brady, you steal the credit from. So I'm not going there. So again, I like Arizona at 8. So that's a superficial look. We've got to obviously look at update the stats and look for the injuries. We know Brock Purdy's going to be the quarterback at the Niners. Who's Carolina? Is it really Sam Darnold going to be the quarterback at Carolina? God, that makes Seattle real live. Miami again. Tagliabue is injured. We'll see if he plays. Kyler Murray had a hamstring, but he looked okay. The Giants, it doesn't matter. They suck. Houston, it doesn't matter who their quarterback is. Burrow, all right. Deshaun Watson. The only thing Deshaun Watson does for that game was Cincy is allow you to maybe play it over if he's ready after sitting out for 2 years. Baltimore, Pitt. All right, Lamar Jackson, we don't know. They're a 4.5-point favorite, and he's got a bad knee. Is he really going to play? Yes, they need to play for the playoffs. Now they're a game behind Cincinnati. Or no, they're still tied with them because they did win. But they always have trouble with Pitt. Pitt hates Baltimore. This is usually a dog play. Buffalo and the Jets are healthy. Minnesota, Detroit's healthy. Oakland and the Rams. Oh, we know the injuries with the Rams anyway. Or being a hitting coach when you got me and Barry hitting back to back. That's my point. Okay, guys, just go. What is he going to tell you guys? I'm your hitting coach. What the hell am I going to tell you guys? Adjust your right shoulder a little. I mean, what the fuck would they say? And then they want to take credit for it. Oh, look at, it was Barry and you hit because you had the hitting coach. Come on, man. That's just ridiculous. But I agree with you. I mean, that's the whole, but the guy gets credit, right? Oh, look at Belichick, the greatest coach of all time. The greatest coach of all time was Bill Walsh and Vince Lombardi, because Bill Walsh took nothing, drafts Joe Montana in the 3rd round and makes him a superstar, and then has the balls to draft Jerry Rice in 85. Now you got Montana and Rice. That's pure genius. Belichick doesn't do that shit. It was a mistake they got Brady in the 6th round, and then they never really, what does he get, Gronk maybe? He never gets a receiver, never gets a running back, and gets some decent defense, which were, Ty Law and the kid from Teddy Bruschi, and then Vrabel. I mean, these guys, okay, but they weren't superstars. So, he had a good game plan against the Rams, maybe, and then he had a good game plan against the Rams 2 years ago when he shut down the running. Big deal, but the best coach was Bill Walsh, and then Lombardi took nothing. He had about 5 or 6 all-stars there, and they were like 1-12. He comes, and all of a sudden he makes them players, and they become all-stars. Nitschke and Paul Hornung, he developed them and made them believe in themselves. That's why he's a great coach. Belichick didn't do anything for Tom Brady. So I don't agree that Belichick's the greatest coach, and I'm so tired of that bullshit. Give me a break. It's the same thing in basketball. Well, it's LeBron or Jordan. No, it's Chamberlain or Jabbar, fellas. Those are your best players of all time. You couldn't stop them. But they don't want to go back. They don't want to look. They don't want to. Well, LeBron's playing now, or maybe Jordan. And Jordan won 6 titles, but it was after Bird, Magic, and Isaiah went out of the league, right? Bird gets injured and is gone. So now Chicago can never beat Boston. And then nobody could beat Magic with Kareem and those guys. And then Isaiah beat Jordan 4 or 5 years in a row, where Detroit finally beat Boston. As soon as they beat Boston, Bird retires. He's like, fuck, I can't beat Isaiah. I got to quit. But Jordan couldn't beat any of them. So you want to make Jordan the best, and you don't want to bring up Bird or Magic? Are you out of your fucking minds? Those were real players. If you watch Bird play, you want to compare him to LeBron? Really? Go ahead. Good luck. He ain't even on the same court with the guy. Anyway, but again, that's the problem. Oh, the best in this. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, so tonight, I guess it's New Orleans and under, but I wouldn't bet more than 2 cents on it. Again, the whole key to this is expected outcome, and what is the outcome we're expecting here? That what we're trying to do is derive to reach the expected outcome. What these idiots tend to do on radio, this BetMGM or these others, is they just kind of guess at it. Well, I look at, Tom Brady, he's not good. I'll take New Orleans, or I'll take Tom Brady at home, without any fabric to get to the expected outcome. They're not analyzing anything to get there. They're not looking at past performance. For example, they like Boise over Fresno. Well, Boise's the better team. Boise's not the better team. Boise was not that good this year. Fresno with Haener versus Fresno without Haener are two different teams. With Haener, they're a much better team than Boise, and they beat it, and they won. And they're sitting there looking at Fresno as a whole, not breaking out Haener, not Haener. And that's what I do to get to the expected outcome. And you can't just look at New Orleans as an over defense and Tampa's an under defense. Are there injuries? Who did they play? And how does New Orleans and Tampa play? I think they play New Orleans last time beat Tampa Bay 9-0 in Tampa with Gronk and with the full Tampa team. 9-0. New Orleans wins. So New Orleans has their number. They play them very well. That's why I like New Orleans in the 9.5. But Dalton, I don't know. He's it's not. There's no Drew Brees and there's no coach. So that really is the tough part. But I do like that. But you have to dig to the expected outcome. That's the key to this, is figuring out who's going to win. But you have to get to you got to complete the puzzle to get there. So that's what I keep coming up with, different ways to complete the puzzle. Early in the year, it's hard for me to complete the puzzle because the puzzle changed. New coaches, oh shit, I don't know anything about them. New quarterbacks, shit, I don't know anything about them. That's why Deshaun Watson, he hasn't played in 2 years. It's really hard to get what he's going to do and fit it in the puzzle. You have no idea. You've got to see him a few games to see. You're telling me he's going to sit out 2 years? Bobby, you sit out 2 years with an injury, you're going to come back and go 4 for 4? Fuck no. You'll be lucky to hit a foul ball your first game back. Then after you get into the swing, now you start hitting again. But you can't sit out 2 years and just go. I certainly couldn't sit out 2 years in handicap. I could remember things, but, oh, wait, I forgot about that. I forgot about this. So that's really what you have to do is figure that shit out. And so I keep coming up with new methods to figure out the expected outcome. And that's what I do. And I do it in everything, jobs, girls, everything. That's what you try to do, is develop new stuff to get expected outcomes, so you can at least understand it. And that's really the point. So we give me a few weeks to do that. So now we're in week 14 now. So I've got 12 weeks of games because of the buys. And then I've got, the first 2 weeks I know don't count because they're preseason basically. So the preseason is really fucking us up, which I think they're doing on purpose. So the preseason, you have nobody playing. It's for the third stringers. Who am I going to keep on my practice squad? You're going to play 3 games to see who's on your practice squad, and you're not going to play your starters to get them in shape for the games. So you're going to waste 2 games, and then you miss the playoffs by 1 because you fucked up the first 2 games, a.k.a. Green Bay. You get shut out the first game because you don't practice, and then now when you need a win, you're going to go, shit, maybe we should have played everybody in the preseason. So that's the problem. You got 3 weeks of preseason that you're not using, you're not getting the guys ready for, and then you come from there. So that's really the issue of the, that's really the problem. And anyway, so that's what you try to do is figure out certain things that'll get you to the expected outcome. That's why I keep adding, oh, now it's the defenses week. That's a new thing for me. I didn't use it 5 years ago. I kind of knew if they got a good or bad defense, but not an over-under defense. That's brand new. I've been winning a ton of money, especially in college, betting overs and overs and overs, and not having this game. Look at all the overs I hit Saturday. USC, Kansas State, UTSA, Tulane. I mean, it was a joke hitting all the overs, and not really. Kansas State made me sweat a little bit, but when I saw 28 all, I was happy. Anyway, then we hit the Green Bay over and we hit the Oakland over. So those are two that I locked that we won a lot of money on because I now know what to look for. So anyway, so I called my bank in the morning because I'm over 40 cents because I keep my money in my savings. But then when my checking goes to zero, I move over $500 or whatever. And I couldn't get in. I'm on, so I go on to my, what do you call it? The I don't know, what do they call it? Anyway, the app. So I'm on the bank app. I can't get in. I go, oh shit, here we go. They're having a bank run. The banks are stopping. There'll be new currency tomorrow. We're all fucked. It just started. And I call a few numbers. Nobody answers. I finally call another number of a branch, and they're open. And they go, oh, no, it's the computer's down. It should be back up. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. So I quickly run to the bank. I get some more money out of my savings at the bank, so I don't leave much left just because I'm like, I know what's going to fucking going on now. They're starting to make the digital change, and that's what's going to happen. There'll be an excuse. The bank's closed for maintenance or something. And then they open a day later and they go, oh, well, we've come out with new money. It's now digital currency and your money's no good anymore. That's what's going to happen very, very soon. And that's why I'm scared out of my mind. So I moved money from my IRA to my bank and just took it out of my bank. And it's in my safe now. And my biggest question is I'm trying to figure out is what if my money's in my safe, how safe is it from the standpoint of can I bring it in and switch it to the digital currency or the new currency? I don't imagine you're going to have a million people who don't make a lot of money, waitresses and people at the grocery store, and then you're going to tell them this is no good, and then you're going to tell them, if you do have 1,000, sorry, it's not worth anything anymore. I can't imagine them doing that. So there has to be a timing of you've got 60 days to turn this into the new currency or into the digital, something like that. And I can't imagine it all goes digital because what if you don't have a phone or your phone doesn't work? Like today, the phone didn't work. What would I do if your app goes down and I need to go to the grocery store to eat, or I need to pay rent or a bill? What am I going to do if the internet's down and it's only digital money? At least here, I could go to the grocery store and use $50 and go buy, Cheerios or whatever. So that's going to be a real problem, and they're going to have a riot on their hands if they think they're just going to get rid of dollars. I don't think that'll happen. I was reading where China's just basically broke. Russia needs gold to go up. That's why gold will go up. And it's just a matter of all these countries getting away from the US dollar, making it worthless, which is going to make, what do we do with our money? And especially you, Bobby, where you got money in your IRA. Now what the fuck do you do? Because it's US dollars. You got to get it out of US dollars. What do you do? How much gold do you buy? But it's a much better investment than stocks to have the gold and silver. Now, if you don't believe me, my guy had no gold. I got had 4 Cougarans. I got one of them at 1,800. But they're not hit. Basically, people are coming in, needing money, selling their gold for money. This is what's happening. And the way the guy's making the money now, if the spot's 1,800, he'll give you 1,800 for the Cougaran, and I paid 1,874. I showed you. So he's making $74, and these poor guys coming in selling the gold because they need money, and then he gets it right back because, per all you guys' questions, what happens when gold goes up? Well, when gold goes up, then once it hits the shelves, people like me go and buy it because we say, fuck, I don't care what it costs. I need more gold. So that's what happens. So the store doesn't care. That's the intermediary. They're the ones who do the selling. So that's what you have. And that's what's going to happen. So I thought it was happening now. I'm glad it isn't yet, but it is coming. So I'm pretty set. Again, the only factor is going to be taking my money here and changing it for digital currency or the new currency. And then what do you do when you go to Europe? I mean, I'm going to need euro. They're not going to take US dollars there. So I'm going to need to exchange it for euros or whatever the fuck they call it because the euros collapsed. So what do we do? And this will be the thing. But the British pound's still there, even though they're not the lead currency, but it's going broke. There's a difference between you're not the reserve currency, but you're not broke too. Now you're broke. Now what do you do? So I asked my friend who lives in Russia, and I said to her, and she doesn't speak good English, and I said to her, what's going on with your dollar? When the new ruble came out, like in January, and it went to 150, and they came out with a new ruble, and it's down to 60. And I go, when the new ruble comes out, did you have a transitory time of taking your old rubles and converting them to the new rubles, which are now working on getting backed by gold? And that's why they went from 150 to a US dollar to 60 to the US dollar because it's backed by gold. So I'm waiting for her to respond if she can understand enough. That's the downside of dating Russian girls is they don't speak it well, but they're real pretty and real nice. So that's what you have, and that's what you're looking at. So I'm waiting on her answer, but that should help us. If she says, oh, we had a month to turn it on in, and she's poor, so it's not like she had all this money to worry about, but she gets paid in the new ruble at her job. And when I send money to her, she gets the new ruble. So she gets whatever they issue now. She's complaining that the price of food's getting expensive. My girlfriend in the Ukraine's now says they just sent 60 missiles to us. We shot down 50 of them, 10 got through. Well, how many missiles did they have? So it's the defense missile like Israel, right? Russia sends the missile in, they blow it up. But how many missiles do they have to blow it up? So Russia sent 60, they blew up 50. She's still peeing in her pants because, you got to hope the missile doesn't come too close to the house and blow up the house. So she's, I don't know, but I sent her money. The banks aren't open. So what good is it sending her money and then she can't go to the bank and get it, and then the store's closed, so she can't get food. Now, this is new. The banks have been open, and she's been able to get her food, so I've been keeping her alive, sending her money. So I don't know what I'm hoping the bank opens soon and the grocery store opens soon. But Russia's bombing the hell out of it. And this is like a middle of nowhere city. This is not Kiev, or this is not Donetsk. This is just some city in the middle of the country. It's just farmland as far as the eye can see, like Back to the Future. What the fuck are they bombing this place for? There's no reason to bomb it. But this is why Putin needs gold to go up, because it's expensive to keep sending missiles and bombs out. It costs money. It's not free to buy a missile and send it out. So that's why he needs gold to go up. That's why I don't understand. He's sending 60 missiles. That's fucking expensive to a farmland to hit nothing, and 50 of them get shot down anyway. And even if they land them, what are you landing? You're hitting nothing. You're hitting farmland. What the fuck is this idiot doing? I don't understand it. Anyway, so that's what's going on in that part of the world. But that's the question. What kind of leeway are we going to have with our dollars to exchange them for either the new currency or the digital dollar? Now, when I go to the bank and I ask them point blank, what the fuck's going on? I'm getting the answer of, oh, no, you'll be fine. The money will be there, which I kind of, I don't believe you, but I shut up. I just listen. And then the digital dollar is supposed to be like a cryptocurrency where we don't need to buy Bitcoin, but it's there, is what I'm getting as well. They'll just be digital currency, but you don't need it, but it'll be there. Well, what's the point of it then? Just to have it? So, but you can't get away from this because there's too many people that depend on it. You go to a hotel, you tip the guy. What are you going to tip him? Well, I'm going to give you a digital dollar. What's your email? I mean, seriously, that's what you're going to do? That'll never work. Or cab drivers or a lot of shit. Like I said, I was at the restaurant and some lady left $4 as the tip. What's she going to leave? Well, wait, I don't have any digital money on me. So I'm hoping that I can't imagine you get rid of a new dollar, right? I can't imagine you don't have this still available. Now I'm checking on it, but as far as I know, yes, there'll be a digital, but will there also be the paper? And I can't imagine not having the paper. According to the bankers, we'll still have paper. Now, are they telling me the truth? Would they tell me there's going to be no paper if it wasn't? I don't know. All I know is I'm not going to get caught and be an idiot. I am going to take most of my money out, and then let's see what happens. Let's see the bank runs. Let's see them close the bank and open it. And by the way, you can't get your money out. That ain't going to happen to me. And that's happened in China, Sri Lanka, and Greece. So there's 3 examples of it fucking happening. You can't even get into the bank in China. And you know who's running Biden? There's the Chinese. So if that's what's coming, I'm ready for it. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with my money if it turns that it's worthless and we're going to wallpaper our walls like they did in Nazi Germany in the 30s when they hyperinflated and they just put the money became worth zero. This money is going to be worth zero. The question is there going to be new money before that or what happens? But that's what's going to happen now. I don't think it's going to take too long now with all the shit going on, but we'll see. This will be interesting what's coming up. It has got nothing to do with 2008. It's got nothing to do with 1980. This is its own animal. This is massive inflation and high debt. You've never had that before. 2008 was about the housing market where these Wall Street firms are selling packages based on, 8% mortgages, and everybody defaulted because the variable rates went from 2 to 4% and nobody could afford them. So they walked away from their mortgages. And that was that crisis. This has got nothing to do with it. This is about the money being printed to zero and you have huge debt and huge inflation. This is a whole different animal. This has got nothing to do with 2008. So people that come out with the chart and go, look what gold did. First of all, you can't compare gold under COMEX and gold not under COMEX. So people that start showing you charts and comparing are freaking morons. I wouldn't even listen to them. I just give them negative comments on their sites going, you probably should go find another career because what you're doing is you're lying to people and you should be thrown in jail because what you're doing is just so wrong on so many levels, misleading people, and then they believe you and they're going to listen to you. The fuck are you doing? Get off of YouTube. And it really bothers me because What I'm giving you is what I was taught by an Austrian economist in my master's class, which is correct, not some guy who, oh, I used to be on Wall Street. So you're listening to salesmen. One guy's an attorney, and they don't fucking have a clue. And so they compare 2008. Do you ever hear me compare 2008? No, because it's got nothing to do with it. 2008 is its own animal. 1980 is its own animal. And you've got basically all the currencies going bankrupt because this idiot's raising interest rates, which ain't going to do nothing to the inflation. It'll kill this value. Normally what happens is they bring out a new one. That's what they did in the Civil War. They had greenbacks. You always have to pay for a war. A war is not free, and a war is full of expense. So imagine running a business, and all you're doing is buying ribs, but you never sell them. Right? You keep buying and you keep buying and you keep buying. Well, that's a war. What are you doing? You have the military, so you have to buy food, clothing, housing for your guys. Where's the revenue? There isn't any. You're not making money. You're just spending. Well, how do you pay for it? How does Russia pay for this war? They got to feed the soldiers. They got to house the soldiers. They got the gas for the tanks. They got all this and then all the bombs. Well, where's the money coming from? There isn't any money coming in. That's the problem with wars. They're all very expensive. They usually end up bankrupting the country. So that's really the problem. So that's why they've been buying gold cheap, and that's why they want gold to go up, and that's why it will go up, because the U.S. is losing control because we don't have any gold. And anyway, that's the problem. And these idiots that want to tell you it's 2008 and look at this chart and that's where we're going. They don't understand it. They don't get the details to get to the expected outcome. They're not looking at the injuries. They're not looking at who they played. They're not looking at any of the variables I look at to come up with the expected outcome that I did, like Green Bay, Chicago. Why? Because they're both good quarterbacks and bad defenses. Let's play the game over. It's a lock, and it wins easy. They're not looking at that to come out with their analysis on what the fuck gold's going to do or the dollar or any of it. They know there's inflation, but they don't know what it is. They think it's based on demand or supply or this or that. No, it's based on you printed too much fucking money. End of story. And then it's based on prices going up because it takes more dollars to buy the Orioles or the Pepsi or whatever the fuck you want to call it, wood or, tires. It costs more because the money's worth less, period. It's not demand. It's not supply. That's prices. That's not inflation. So they don't even know what they're talking about when they start talking about prices. But that's really the problem. And that's where you get into these guys are idiots, and they start looking at charts. Gold's going to go up. Gold's going to go up because it's been depressed by COMEX, and they've broken COMEX. So now it's going to go. Here's the market for gold. Here's the suppression of COMEX. You get rid of COMEX, gold goes up to its real price. That's why gold's going up. That's why I tell you 50,000. That's why I tell you 2,000 or more silver, is because this is the real price. This is the supply demand market price. And we've talked about markets. The market says, I'll give you 50 for this. Then you get 50. If there's no market, you can't sell it. And if there's a good market, you can sell it for more. The market is the customer. If I want to buy whiskey and then I choose this, that's the market. The market is me. You're in the market trying to sell me something. That's the market. Gold and silver, the market everybody wants. These guys in the jewelry stores don't even have it. They can't even get it. This guy has no gold. How do you run out of eagles? What the fuck? He runs out of eagles. There's demand for it, obviously, because he ran out, but he can't get more. That's the market saying, I want it. So the market saying, I want gold is way up here. The price is here, and the demand is here. And so the price should be here, but it's not. So you got it here. And then you got idiots looking at charts going, well, it should go up to here. No, it's going to go up to here because this is the demand, not up to here. What the fuck are you talking about? So this is the problem when you see guys with charts comparing it to 2008. That since 1971, it's been COMEX keeping the price low, never at market. It's never been supply demand, free market economics for gold. It's never been here. And now you've got all the Russians in, all the Chinese in, all the Indians in, all the Saudis in. Half of Europe is now in. The only people not in are the USA people who don't have a clue about gold and silver, which is what I'm here for. So now you have the whole world going, I want gold, I want gold, I want gold. And the price still down here with the real price up here. And that's what I'm telling you is it's going to go where it really should go. That's why I'm giving you the prices. That is the key, is getting rid of COMEX. That's why it goes up. It's got nothing to do with 2008. It's got nothing to do with 1971. All that happened is they took it off the gold standard and ruined the country because you're going to have inflation, trade cycles, unemployment, and everything else happens because the communists have been running this country since 1971. We're calling them Keynesians or monetary people. Then you got Bitcoin coming in because people realize this, are too stupid to understand gold and silver is really where you want to go. They go into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's Russian mafia, so they don't have a clue what it is. You ask people, why is it going up? Nobody can give you an answer because nobody has a fucking clue because it's a computer system. So it's like, oh, I have an Excel. It's like selling this sheet, right? Here, I'm going to sell this sheet for $70,000. Everybody want it? It's crypto. It's Bitcoin. That's what it is. Is that so? You're going to give me 70,000 for my sheet because I'm saying, well, I only made 21 million copies of this, so therefore buy it. Is it money? No, it's not money. It's getting you off of the dollar. So the thought is the dollar's being inflated. I want to get out. The problem is they're not thinking that you need to be into gold. You need to get into gold, not into crypto. And now crypto is being manipulated, and there's 16 billion losses and 50 billion losses. This guy's going bankrupt. They're stealing it. It's all Russian mafia. You want to be in bed with the Russian mafia? You're going to lose all your money. So be my guest. The Russian mafia cannot be in gold. They can buy it, but they can't manipulate it. COMEX is being manipulated, but you can't hold it. Eventually, the demand goes up here, gets rid of the fix. So you can't keep fixing it. Too many people now want it because of this whole everybody's going broke. And when you go broke, do you want to lose your money? You got 500 grand. You want to lose your money? No, I don't want to lose my money. What do? I sell this shit and I buy gold and silver because you know what? Gold and silver, I can't lose my money in. It's not going to go down. The demand is through the roof. It's like if this was gold, right? It's $50 an ounce being manipulated by COMEX. All of a sudden, there's 5 million people wanting this. You think it's going to stay at $50 for the bottle? Or do you think maybe the bottle goes up to, I don't know, $20,000 because I got 5 million people wanting to buy it? And as they want, I want it. Well, I don't have it. Well, I'll give you this much for it. That's how the price goes up, right? So they mark gold at 2,000. It sells out. Well, the natural order of markets are, well, I'll sell it for 3,000. Oh, it's sold out. Oh, well, I'll mark it for 5,000. Oh, it's sold out. I got so much demand, I can get 10,000 for it. Oh, it's still selling out because everybody runs into it because they realize it's the only safe place to park your $500,000 because you know your $500,000 is going to fucking zero. You're going to hold on to 500,000 in this that's being inflated, which means it's losing its value. Is that what you want? And is that why you worked hard to have to? You're just going to sit by and watch this go to zero, or you get out of it and go to gold. Oh, well, gold's going up. I don't care. I still need the gold because my dollar is going to go to zero. There's no way they can stop it. Then, oh, wait, let's make it 5,000 an ounce. What do you mean there's still demand? Oh, my God, there's still, the Russians are coming, the Chinese. Everybody wants it because this is a worldwide thing. This isn't U.S. gold. This is gold. This is for the world, gold. And there's only so many ounces for it. That's it. There's only so many ounces. And by the way, since China owns 23,000 tons and Russia owns 15,000 tons, how much money, how much gold do you think is left that we can go to the coin store and buy? There ain't a whole lot left that we can buy. So we'll raise the price to 20,000. And you still got people buying it hand over fist because they have to have the gold. This is why I tell you, you're going to buy a Ferrari with an ounce of gold, because the Ferrari guy doesn't need his car, but he needs money. So he's going to go sell it. But he doesn't want this. He wants real money. So Bobby's going to go up to the guy and go, well, I got an ounce of gold. I'll take the Ferrari. And the guy's going to say, thank you. I'll take it because it's money. And the value of gold keeps going up. I'll take it. And Bobby's going to own a Ferrari with an ounce, maybe 2 ounces of gold, or a nice 100,000 Mercedes with 1 ounce, because they're going to need money and they don't want this. That's the key. And if they come out with new this and it's not backed by gold, nobody would want it anyway, because it's the same fucking thing that you have there. So Bobby's going to go buy a Mercedes and he'll buy a Ferrari. And, you know, he's been looking at this $2 million house in Las Vegas. And you know what? I need 3 ounces of gold to buy that house. So he goes, here's 3 ounces of gold. The guy says, thank you. I need the money because I don't want this. And that's my point. So when you get ready to sell your gold at 50,000 an ounce, don't buy this. You don't want to sell it unless it's absolutely necessary, because you're going to get stuck with this, which is valueless. You got to wait for the new currency, or you're going to buy the BRICS currency that's backed by gold. So you're going to go to Russia and you're going to sell it there and get 50,000 of this in rubles that's backed by gold. That's the only way you're going to sell it. But the problem is it going to be worth anything in the U.S.? And that's really where the problem is, where the U.S. is the world currency, but it's going to be gone. And then are we going to be able to use rubles here that are backed by gold? So in a sense, we don't want to sell our gold for this, because this is still worthless, right? We're trying to get out of this. So unless it's an emergent, that's why I'm saying buy silver. Then you'll get $5,000 for the silver. And so you can eat and go on vacation and all that stuff and pay your mortgage and everything with the silver. That's the difference. So the gold's going to buy your Ferraris and buy you a house. The silver's going to make sure you got food and clothing and pay your utilities and all that, which will have to be repriced, which is the part I don't understand with this whole reset. How the fuck do you reprice Oreos and clothes? How do you reprice this? How do you reprice this? How do you reprice the phone? How do you reprice what are you going to price it at? Because now it's priced in this garbage. Now you're going to have to price it in, well, what's the phone worth? Now you got to get back to the market and you got to go, well, what's the dollar worth? What's demand and supply for the phone? And you're going to have to figure out that, which you can't figure out the market. The government cannot figure out the market. It's based on, first of all, it's based on competition. Do I want this phone for $100, the Samsung, or do I, there's a $500 phone. There's a $200 phone. I don't want to buy an iPod. It's $1,400. Fuck that. I'm not going to spend $1,400 on a phone. I'll buy this phone for $200. And that's really what happens, right? You got to figure out what the market is. You got to figure out the competition, what everybody prices is at, and that's going to take years. I don't know how the fuck what they're going to do. That's why I think they have to come out with new this before they go digital. And how are you going to price everything? So this is, let's say it's $50. How are you going to price this? Where are you going to put it at? Well, in the new currency, I'm going to price it at $40, $25. That is the problem. You don't know what to price anything at. So my friend at the barbecue who sells his ribs for $30 a slab, who's a good boy because he's not gone over the 30, he's still $29. Like I told him, and he's still in business. What is he going to sell his ribs for? He won't know what it cost. what's it going to cost from the butcher in Texas to ship him all his ribs and steaks? Until he understands the cost, he can't put it on the menu because he doesn't know. If I don't know, if it costs me 20, I can sell for 20. Let's say it only costs me 10 because it's new currency. I can sell it for 15 new currency. So he's got to understand what is it going to cost, and how the fuck does the meat packer understand what to sell it for? Well, I've been selling it $30 a slab. It's new currency. What do I sell it for? This is really the hard part. Or I guess they just throw it out there and adjust it. But that's really the hard part of doing what it is you're creating a whole new market. How the fuck can you do that? It takes you years. You have to figure out, what's an iPhone going to cost? Well, what's the new currency? How do you figure that out? That's why it's going to take a while if you can even do it. And I guess you're going to make a lot of errors and then have to tweak it to get to the right market that we're at, like now, where this is $50. Well, we didn't know what it was, and it used to be $10. And then as we inflated, this went to 20, and now we inflate more. Now it's 50. So this probably started at 5 or 10. And I guess that's what they'll have to do, is come up with the market, because that is the critical part. What is my cost to know what I'm going to sell it for? What are you going to sell a car for? You can sell your Camry, it's $30,000. You can sell for $30,000 new dollars? No, you'll probably sell it for $10,000 new dollars. That's where gold comes in. Gold doesn't need dollars. Gold's gold. You don't need dollars. You don't need to price it in American dollars. What do you price Bitcoin at? It's in U.S. dollars. What are you going to price it at when the U.S. dollar goes to zero? Well, I guess your Bitcoin's at zero. Your stocks, I think, will be okay. So Microsoft, $100 a share. Now, what's it at? $30 a share, because we have to convert the share price in dollars to the share price in new dollars. This whole thing's a fucking mess. There's got to be a conversion, but how do you convert it logically? You don't have a clue. So they'll probably be tweaking it. Oh, we'll make Microsoft go from $100 a share to 50. Okay, that sounds about right. Really, the market's saying, no, wait a minute, it's really 25. So there'll be the market. So you're going to be guessing the price, and the demand's going to be based on price. And they're going to say, well, now, and then what is the new dollar worth? So this is going to be very a big mess. But that's what I believe is going to happen. I don't know what you're doing with digital. You can make digital, but I think it's just, and you have money. And that's the part that nobody's telling you. They're making it sound like this is going to zero and replaced by digital. And I don't know the case, and I don't know the conversion. If it is even money, is it 50 cents on the dollar? What is it? And then what's our time limit on getting rid of our dollar that we put in the safe to get out of the bank scandals when the bank runs and the bank closing, so we're safe? And then how do we convert it to the new digital currency? So that part, nobody has the banks don't have a clue. Well, if they don't have a clue, who the fuck am I supposed to ask? So all I know is I talked to a few finance people, and they think there'll be both. The bankers think, well, there'll be digital and there'll be money. So we will see. But any new money, we should be able to take. I should be able to pull 10 grand out of the safe, go to the bank, say, give me the new money, throw that back in the safe, and have the new money in the safe instead of the old money in the safe. But it's going to be a little bit scary. So be prepared. But the market's going to crash because people will, the earnings of the companies will go down, even though the central bank will keep printing money, but the money they're printing is going to be worthless. So they're going to keep printing money to keep the stock market up, even though the earnings are going to go down. Look at Tesla. They got nailed. Amazon got nailed. Facebook got nailed. So what's the regular companies going to happen? They're going to get nailed. You're going to go on vacation. You're going to go fly to Europe. So are the airlines going to be okay? Are the cars? Who's going to buy a car? So that's going to hurt. Who's going to buy a house? They're going to get hurt with the higher interest rates. So what are you going to buy? Coke and Pepsi, about it. That would be the stocks to buy, but even they're going to get hurt. Earnings drop. stock price goes down. People need money. They sell stock price goes down. There's no case. It's like betting tonight's game. New Orleans, Tampa. Why would you bet Tampa, let's say, or New Orleans? Just pick a team. Or let's take Denver. Why would you bet Denver? Denver is playing Kansas City. KC's -7. Why would you take Denver? Who in their right mind would take Denver? Oh, it goes to 7.5. I'll take Denver because it's 7.5. Okay, that guy's broke. What logically would you be taking Denver or betting against Georgia, let's say? So in the stock market, everybody's going to be selling. Who in their right mind is going to be buying? And you might buy Coca-Cola because it's a $2 drink that you're going to always buy. The price isn't really going to kill you. I do that with a lot of vegetables. I buy cauliflower. Well, if it goes from $2 to $3, I'm still buying cauliflower. It's not going to kill me to buy it like Oreos going from $2 to $5 or Cheerios, those things, which you shouldn't be eating the cereal anyway. It's all carbs. So that's really what we have, the problems coming up, and I'll try to get more answers. But it's fucking they're fucking with the markets, and they're all communists, these Keynesians running the U.S., and they don't have a fucking clue. So just understand that the Keynesians/communists do not have a fucking clue how to run an economy. It's never worked. It never will work, because the only way a market runs is us running the market, saying, I want the phone, I want the Canadian club, I want the crackers, I want the pen. And then I choose which one, and there's competition, and I look at it and go, well, this is cheaper. I'll buy this one. And we make the decisions of buying. That's how a market works. That's Austrian economics, where the communists and Keynesians want the government to tell you what to do. Who the fuck wants to be told what to do? That's the problem. That's why they're trying to kill us all, is so then whoever's left, we can tell what to do. And that's what Russia and China, the people in Russia are so scared. They all want to leave because they don't like that. I was telling you my story the other day where I'm in Lisbon with my Ukrainian girlfriend, and she's sitting there, and I'm talking like this, and she's saying, shh, be quiet. Well, in America, we don't care. I mean, I don't care anybody's listening. Fuck it, they're probably not listening. Anyway, they're not listening to me. They don't care. She's worried that they're going to tell the government. So she's like, I don't want anybody to know our business. Don't talk so loud. And that's the difference in cultures. But that's how they grew up, communist, and don't want anybody to hear their conversation. So that's the difference. Anyway, so that's football /economics/gold. So you should have an understanding of what's happening better than anybody else is showing you. Keep an eye on these YouTube idiots. When they go to a chart, turn it off, write a negative comment. Come to me, www.teaserking.com. You get my email, ask me the question, and I'll be happy to answer it if I don't answer it here on the class. And that's what I'm trying to do, is answer the questions, keep you calm, and protect you. You're my students, you're my family, and I want you safe. And I don't want you to lose money on a football bet or on anything, like especially that, which is why I tell you to buy gold, because I'm telling you why it's been low. It's been low on a fix, not on market. And I'm telling you now it's going to market because they fucked themselves by keeping it low, introducing the Russians, Chinese, and Indians and Saudis into the picture, buying all the gold. And now they don't want a COMEX. They want it to go high because they want to take over. So they want 50,000 an ounce gold. Wouldn't you, if you had 20,000 tons of it, wouldn't you want it to be 50,000 an ounce, not 1,800 an ounce? The only person that wants it at 1,800 is somebody who wants you in money, who doesn't want the value to go up, because then you won't want the money, which is what JP Morgan has a monopoly on. And JP Morgan loves the fucking monopolies. It's terrible for the people. And this JP Morgan guy should be thrown in jail. But they want you in this. So for them, they want gold cheap. So you and you're ignorant, you go, oh, yeah, gold doesn't really do much, so I'm not going to buy it, which chased everybody into Bitcoin, which is now being exposed and killed. So everybody in Bitcoin is now losing their ass. So it's all part of the plan. So all I can say is you don't want to be in so Bitcoin's controlled. Gold, you can't really control. They can COMEX it down, but it's eventually you can't anymore. There's too much demand and too many Russia, China, India who want it to go up. Believe me, if Russia and China want it to go up, it's going up. It's just a matter of time. But that's why they say look out for 2023. So apparently it'll happen starting in January. Don't be surprised. You know what's going to happen. You know Georgia's going to win the national title. You know gold's going to the moon with silver right along with it. They're the real currencies. You know that's what's going to happen, so take appropriate steps. Don't sit there, well, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't buy any, and I'm in dollars and da-da-da-da-da, and you're like, what the fuck? Why are you being so stubborn? Don't you want to protect yourself? And at worst case, you buy all this gold and silver and it doesn't move. And Howard was wrong and it's still at 1,800. You go back to the store and you give them the gold and silver back and they give you back your money. It's a no-brainer. There's no risk to do what I'm doing. What's your risk? Oh, instead I could have been in money earning what, 1% on my money as it's inflated. You know there's inflation. You know what inflation is. You know it hurts the value of this, as this used to be. This used to be dollars. Now it's inflated. Now it's worth 40 cents. So you know that's happening. So if you keep your money in this, you know this is happening. So what is the risk of putting it into gold and silver? It doesn't go up. It's manipulated. Well, I know this is going to, I don't want to rip it again, to 10 cents. I know this is going to 10 cents on the dollar. So even if I hold gold, I have no risk. And you can't deflate the gold. Gold isn't going, I went to 16, was all bullshit derivative shit. But once the Russians and Chinese want it to go up, it's going up. And there's nothing the U.S. is going to do to stop it. And that's what you got to realize. Look at risk and reward. What is your risk? You have no fucking risk by putting your money out of dollars into gold and silver. In fact, the silver is going to go through the roof. So you're going to pay $28 an ounce. Let's call it 30 to keep it even. So you're going to pay $30 an ounce for silver. What the hell is your risk? What's $30, right? So you buy 3 ounces is $90. So $90 is going to the movies and ordering popcorn. What's your risk? Nothing. But when it hits 2,000 an ounce, all of a sudden you got $6,000 for your 90. Now how happy are you? Not only did you protect yourself, but you made a ton of money. Now it's not an investment, but you will reap the benefit because it's got to come. This is the real price, and this is where it's at now. So it's not an investment, but it's going to go to where the price is because this is the demand for it, as I showed you on my whiskey. So if the demand is so much higher, which it is, and they're draining it, the price has to go up. So when when JP Morgan says keep the price down, and they keep keeping the price down, it's not real, and therefore it won't survive it. And nobody's really cared for 50 years, and now they're starting to care, and now they're emptying it, and everybody's buying the gold, and that's the key to blowing it up. So you have no risk. All right, if silver doesn't go past 30 and it goes back to 20, okay, I sell it to the guy. And my 90 turned into 80. Oh, well, my 90 in the bank is going to turn into 20. So I can't win with the inflation, which they are saying is inflation, which we believe because if you print $10 trillion, guess what? You have inflation because you've made the value of the dollar drop by printing too much of it, which you can't print too much gold. right? You can't print it. You can't copy it. You either dig it out of the ground or that's it. That's it. And the demand for the gold versus what you are digging out of the ground isn't close. The demand's probably 1,000 to 1, people wanting it versus digging it out of the ground. So anyway, keep that in mind. Think of risk and reward. You have no risk. If you just want to buy silver, you have no risk. What's your risk? Oh, I paid $25 for an ounce of it. What's your risk? It won't go to 2,000. I don't see how it can't go to 5,000, but okay, keep in mind, if the Russians and Chinese want it and they're ruling everything, that's what's going to happen. Look at Putin. He shoots missiles and rockets, and he's in a war. I don't even know what he's doing. He doesn't even know what's his strategy, Putin. What's your strategy in the war? What are you trying to? You're taking back. You're not trying to take back Ukraine. Every time you have Kherson, they take it back. You can't get Kiev. What the fuck are you doing? He doesn't. He's just firing. He's just firing rockets in because I don't know. I guess somebody's trying to bankrupt him, and he's gonna, shoot all his missiles and feed all his soldiers until he doesn't have any money. I have no idea. I have no idea what the fuck he's doing. It doesn't make any military sense. You're running out of money, that's for sure, because wars are expensive. So I don't know what the fuck you're doing. Anyway, I just hope it ends soon. I want to go visit my girlfriend in Russia and Ukraine. I can't go there because the airports aren't open. So it becomes a very difficult thing. But anyway, that's what's going on. Questions, comments, let me know. www.teaserking.com. You can get on you can email me and I will respond. Big week, very happy. A lot of people made a lot of money, that's what I'm here for. 9-2 pro, 7-2 college, 5-0 on the locks. So next week's just Army Navy. Then we'll have the bowls, probably be out in a day or two. I'll run through those probably tomorrow. We kind of touch base on the pros. I need to figure out the variables. I'm superficially looking at the expected outcome, such as Miami, San Diego, liking San Diego as the dog, but I got to dig in. People get injured. Is quarterback playing? Is the receivers playing? The running back? Are the teams healthy? Now, if everything remains healthy, then I make the bet. Again, Tagovailoa is injured. So if he plays, it's probably an over. If he doesn't, then I take San Diego, and the line will tell me. And the line always gets adjusted today, tomorrow. So we'll see. Superficially, Detroit over. Probably like Oakland, LA over. Baltimore, Pitt. I probably like Pitt. Cincinnati's a low. Watch Cincinnati go from 3.5 to 5 tomorrow. You watch that. Same thing with Tennessee, Jacksonville. I can see that going to 5 or 6. Philly probably going to 7.5. KC probably going to 9. So all these spreads will probably move from where they are now because they'll realize, oh, shit, they fucked up. That's what Vegas does. Well, thank you, Profit Margin. I'm trying to teach, and this is a class, and I'm trying to help people who like football and poker and are trying to make money and get rich. I'm trying to help you because clearly this shit isn't taught. It clearly should be. I got lucky and learned it in 1994, 95 in my master's program at a business and accounting school. I got lucky that the teacher was outstanding, Austrian economist from, I think it was SMU actually, down in Texas. Great teacher, very calm. Who do I put him like? Probably like Bill Walsh, right? So he didn't really yell, but he was a very smart guy, and you could talk to him, and he talked, you just listen, you go, where the fuck's this coming from? Why have I never heard of this before? And he did the same thing. He ripped the dollar the first day of class. That got my attention. And I'll tell you, that guy could teach. But it's really not. My undergrad, I had another Keynesian economics class. I don't know what the fuck he taught. I couldn't tell. All of us was a bunch of charts. And I go, what is this? And they use all these words that, supercalifragilistic. What the fuck does it mean? And I'm gonna get tested on graphs and this. I go, I don't know what you're talking about. It's not made so you understand it. It's Keynesian. It's communist. So you don't understand it. And it's government-run markets instead of individuals running the markets. Nobody wants to be told what to do. They all want to. I'm going to earn my money, and I'm going to spend it the way I want. And that's why you don't want taxes, and that's why you don't want government spending. The government doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, spending the money, but we do. So you always want to own your own money, and you spend it. That's why taxes never work. And that's why when you reduce taxes, like what Reagan did, you had such a boom in the economy because you reduced taxes. The people kept their money and spent it wisely. And that's what you want. Plus, you want savings is very good. Anyway, I think that's about it. www.teaserking.com. If you want to email me, please let me know. Be happy to answer, respond. What I can answer, I will. Again, I'm looking into this. I got 10 grand in my safe. Will I have a grace period of exchanging it for the new currency if we need to? We know this is being valued down, down, down. So I really don't understand how you can't at least issue new currency. That makes no sense. Oh, we're not going to issue new currency. Yes, you will. You'll have to, because if nobody wants the money, then it has no value, right? So that's how I see it. So I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you learned, and that's the point of this. Tomorrow, I guess we'll go through the pros. I mean, we kind of go through it, but I don't mind just maybe trying to find different things that are happening. So now I'm going to update my stats to reevaluate the teams. So is Oakland still an over team? Is Philadelphia the A team? Is who's the Z team? So I've got more information, allows me to refine my thoughts on the teams so we can bet them next week to get the expected outcomes. And that's really what it's about. So good luck, everybody. Have a great day. Be very careful about the banks. I assume bank runs. Now people say, well, that's in Venezuela, that's in Sri Lanka, that's in China. It won't happen in the U.S. Okay. Do you want to bet 500,000 on it? At worst case, your money's in the safe, or you've traded it for gold and silver, and you trade it back. They're not doing it. And I'll put my money from the safe back into the bank. So are you really going to trust the government and the bank over your safe? This is the question. So if I have it, I trust myself. If the bank has it, and after the scare I had this morning where I couldn't get into my online banking to check my balance, to check what happened, if I get in, is that what I'm going to trust? And that's really the whole point of it. Where if it's in my safe, if it's in gold, as Bobby says, I sleep pretty well knowing I have my silver in my bedroom, and it's the same thing. How safe was I knowing I had 15 grand in the bank and I can't get online? I'm like, oh fuck, there goes my money. That's why I ran and got most of it. I left a little for a few months of rent and bills, but I basically said, okay, I got the bulk of it. Now if there's a few thousand. If I lose a few thousand, fine. But if the bank's closed, I ain't going to worry about paying rent either. So that's really what it is. But buy your food. I got my freezer full of meat and chicken and frozen vegetables because I got to eat vegetables, but I can't buy a lot of fresh vegetables. How long is the cauliflower going to sit in my fridge? So I can't buy a lot of it unless I can buy it and freeze it, which maybe I need more information on. But buy some food. And I don't know that there's going to be a shortage as much as it's going to be expensive because the diesel fuel is more expensive and there's problems with the trains going on strike and all sorts of different things, your food cost is going to go up. And so there'll be stuff, but how are you going to eat? So put shit in your freezer. I've been buying spaghetti and popcorn and tuna and stuff that lasts. However, it's only, okay, that'll keep me the first month, maybe 6 weeks. Then what do I do? That's the problem. It's okay, you're okay for a while, but then what do you do? And that's really the problem. So just please be careful. But we need to really wrap our heads together of if the shit really hits the fan and everything's very expensive, then how do we live? The gold and silver will help, because as this goes to zero and you're fucked, the gold and silver, you'll be going, oh, okay. You'll be Eddie Murphy in Trading Places. You'll have the smile on your face, go, yeah, we're okay. We got gold and silver. So anyway, that's the point. Have a great day. www.teaserking.com. I got some YouTubes to look at. I got to update my stats, and I got to make some dinner. It's 3:00. All right, everybody, take care. I hope you enjoyed the class, and we will talk to you tomorrow. It's about the same time.